We shall see. Yeah, I got a ding on my phone. It's running.
Right. Okay, so yeah, finally starting the stream. I know it's days late and 15 minutes late on the scheduled time to anybody who's actually was looking forward to this. Odds are nobody was, because I've got 100 and something subscribers and not one of them tunes into anything I do. But having some technical difficulties because OBS had an update, and then YouTube is being really goofy right now. But Hangouts is going the way of the dodo, and so I'll have to find some other alternative way of doing this in the future anyway. So hopefully then I can have a way of actually playing videos to the people on the call. But I think this will be the last time I do a Hangouts with this, and hopefully I'll have something by next week to replace it. But with all that out of the way, got a lot of things to talk about today, so I'm not sure if there's any particular order I should be going in, but alright, first thing, so there's a couple of things I thought about naming this stream, because there's a lot of funny things happened this week, or ways of spinning them into funny titles. So I've got Green for Greenland. But there was this weird thing that worked out. So the second topic I want to do, Plan B for Planned Parenthood, and I'm like, wait a minute, I've got a whole series of these that kind of go throughout the week. This one's not quite the same, but Deport Portland.
I like that one.
Servicing former service members. I'm like, yeah, there's all kind of... Yeah, I know, it's the phrasing, right?
Sure, we're going with that one.
Oh, you don't know? Yeah, okay. Yeah, that was... So I had a couple of those. So we'll start with the Green for Greenland, because this was pretty... It's pretty non-eventful, but for some reason it was making the news and everybody's up in arms. Like, everybody... Okay, the thing that I don't understand is the ridiculous talking point that making the offer for Greenland is out of this world insane. Because that's actually what the Prime Minister... it was the Prime Minister, right? They have a Prime Minister in Denmark? Whatever, the political leader, I don't remember what her... I believe the Prime Minister is the position she holds. So, Trump was having backroom talks about possibly buying Greenland. This was never officially proposed to the Prime Minister or to the leader of Denmark. It was not anything official. This was something he'd been mulling around or possibly talking about in back rooms. Who knows if it was talked about jokingly or seriously. But this got leaked out that Trump was considering buying Greenland. And prior to receiving an official offer or anything along those lines, the leader of Denmark responds, it's absolutely absurd for Trump to consider buying Greenland.
Why is that absurd?
I don't know. So then Trump comes out there and starts defending it, saying this is not absurd. You've got Truman, who's considered that this has been going on for
like asked about it.
Yeah, he's like the third or fourth president that has considered buying Greenland from Denmark. The other thing is right now Greenland costs Denmark over 700 billion. Wait, no, it's not a billion, right?
700 billion.
Million.
No.
700 million a year. Yeah, I know it was 700. I believe it was 700 million would make more sense.
On the country.
Yeah, Denmark is a very, very small budget compared to the U.S. So 700 million is being lost by Greenland, or lost by Denmark because they're paying for Greenland. They're supporting it at the cost of 700 million a year. It's a financial drain. Very few people live there. Denmark's not using it for anything. So
it's Greenland, and so everyone just says, well, every place on the planet already is owned by somebody. We're done.
Yeah.
Wipe your hands, walk away. We just bought Alaska like half a century ago.
Yeah.
I mean,
it hasn't been that long.
That's
Well, the other thing, so
Greenland. It's not
the
like land deals don't happen.
well, the other thing is Puerto
When
Rico
China,
and
they'll get traded.
Guam. Those are territories of the U.S. They didn't become official states or anything like that, but those were more recent than Alaska as well.
Yeah.
Guam, I think, I don't know if that was a purchase, per se. I was going to say, there's a couple other territories the U.S. has, like smaller island chains, that are not official states or anything like that. Puerto Rico, I believe, was purchased, though. I guess I have to go and double check that. I thought Puerto Rico was purchased. Because, or it was either Puerto Rico or Guam. Let me double check this. Yeah, I want to say...
So, are they laughing at the idea?
Yeah, people are actually mocking the idea of the U.S. owning Greenland. So, for Denmark, Greenland doesn't really serve much of a purpose at all. For the U.S., it has huge...
I never even bothered to think about it.
Yeah.
And I guess if I sat and thought for a while, I'd be like, yeah, what country does own Greenland? I just considered it its own place.
Yeah. Is Iceland its own country? Yeah. I don't know, honestly. I think Iceland is its own country, and I always thought Greenland was its own country, but Denmark owns Greenland. Greenland serves basically no purpose. Otherwise, they wouldn't be costing Denmark millions of dollars, hundreds of millions of dollars annually. It would be a benefit if it was like, hey, we're using it. So natural resources there. Denmark isn't drilling or tapping into that, maybe because they can't afford that. They don't have enough industry. Whatever. Who knows the actual reason or whatever. There's multiple reasons that could be contributing to that. But the U.S. definitely could.
Well, what I'm wondering is, are they simply laughing because he's asking to buy a large chunk of land? And everyone's like, that doesn't even happen nowadays. What are they... I don't understand.
No, here's that doesn't happen nowadays. Do this the right way and go and invade a country like what Russia did.
Well, I mean,
to the best of my knowledge,
because of the end of a treaty, Hong Kong was still supposed to maintain its semi-sovereignty and its laws and whatever. China isn't actually doing that. Now they've got riots, and China is sending police force and military force down to quell the riots.
Mm-hmm.
They are trying to basically absorb Hong Kong and say, you are now China. There is no Hong Kong. You're just a city.
Yeah.
You're no longer what you used to be. If they can take over land like that against people's will, then we're not the only country looking to expand.
So that's where you get into a little bit of a fishy territory because Hong Kong is technically owned by China.
Correct.
Technically, it's because, hey, they said they owned it. So there's a bit of a history where both people claim...
people in Hong Kong to maintain basically their civil liberties, their the way they've been operating. But regardless, we're not the only country that's trying to press for more land, more power.
There's a more recent event that happened under the Obama administration, which is when Russia took over Georgia.
Yeah.
And they still own it. And, oh well. Because I forget who was talking about. I think it might have been, I think that was a question asked of Trump on one of his recent, hey, he got out of a helicopter and reporters just started asking him questions, and he was talking about Russia got kicked out of the G8, and now it's the G7 because of that invasion. And yet, Russia still owns that land, and Russia is still a member, one of the 4 members of the UN with a vote, or with a veto vote. No, nothing. But, oh, you guys kicked me out of your big group. Okay, well, we're still gonna negotiate with each other. Yeah, we're still gonna have all of our trade agreements. Yeah, we're still gonna have it. Okay, what did we lose? we just gotta kind of go around this one particular meeting and talk to you separately and then bring what you say back to the group. They lost nothing.
Yeah, I mean, I'm still not understanding. Alaska used to belong to Russia.
Yeah, we bought it.
So if it was done a couple of decades ago, what's the difference?
So yeah, it's to me it seems perfectly rational. I would hope the U.S. like that's what I'm thinking. It's like, well, if Denmark doesn't want the money, Trump should go around and be like, hey, who wants to join the U.S. as a territory? We're looking to purchase. If anybody's got...
Greenland would have some. I think it would definitely have some military.
Yeah, well, we already have a military base because of that strategic significance.
Yeah, but that puts our land like right next to Russia.
Yeah.
I mean, Greenland and Russia are the easternmost part of Russia and the top part of Greenland are extremely close together.
Yeah.
Because Greenland sticks right in there to the Arctic Circle, so that would allow us to put bases wherever. And if we needed to do a quick embargo, we're already there, and nobody could say anything.
Well,
we have trade lines. We can.
Yeah. So there's that strategic military strategic more so than what we have right now. There's also the Arctic Circle. The ice around that is starting to break up, and we're losing sections of ice in there, making that channel once again open, which it opens up every 50 odd years or so, creating this massive easy trade route. Yeah, you can go straight from Maine over to Europe.
For natural resources there, since most of it is not being used.
Yeah,
unless we get a bunch of people saying, "Hey, it's just like Alaska." Yeah, I know there's no animals. There's like 2 or 3 species, but no drilling, no mining, no getting resources. Earth doesn't belong to you humans, just the animals.
Yeah.
Whatever.
Yeah, but so there's those trade routes that would open up that would be much easier to get around if we actually own Greenland and we have hey, there's multiple ports along Greenland that we can stop without going through all this. But so there's a whole bunch of advantages to owning Greenland for the U.S. But a lot of people are looking at it as like, oh, how dare you even ask? And that's exactly why Trump said, oh, you're going to... So you could have just said, no, thank you. Thanks for the offer. We like Greenland, too. Thanks for... But instead, she responded with the...
He's like, okay, just thought I'd ask. No one mentioned it.
Yeah, but instead, she said it was absurd.
He was like, really? You mean we could actually ask to buy Greenland? Why not? Let's go for it. That sounds like a Trump thing.
Yeah.
Hey, an opportunity? Let's go for it. But, I mean, if I heard a rumor that we could possibly go purchase Greenland, I would do it.
Yeah.
It's a no-brainer.
Yeah, there's a whole lot of advantages for the U.S. in purchasing like that. But since the leader of Denmark dismissed it so adamantly, Trump was like, okay, if you're going to play like that, he canceled a meeting to go over to Denmark. So... And he said specifically it's because she called it absurd. If she had just said, no, thank you...
Not for sale.
Yeah. Then he would have been like, okay, whatever. Couldn't hurt to ask. But instead, her response was calling it an absurd statement and laughing at it. And he's like, oh, if that's the way you're going to be, fine. So canceled a planned meeting, and I mean, I can understand Denmark wanting to hold on to it. Like, maybe they're saying, oh, it's costing us money now, but when that Arctic Circle trade route opens up, we're going to be making bank off of that. So maybe they want to hold on to it, yeah.
They're part of the nation, and they're like, we're not just going to give up part of our nation like that. I get it.
But yeah.
They get some nationalism. That's perfectly fine.
Yeah. But to treat it as why would you even make that offer? That's so stupid. That's the stupidest thing. Like, really. But are you saying that Greenland is stupid to want to own, and you currently own it? So, yeah, it's just a goofy story all around. I don't understand because the other half of that is Trump posted a tweet where he promised not to do this to Greenland. This is before the Denmark leader called it absurd. There's a picture of basically a bunch of little shanties and tents, which I guess is actually a picture from Greenland. And then there's this huge Trump Tower on it on the beach. And he said, I promise not to do this to Greenland. And he just put that out there as a joke. And then, and then they come back with, oh, this is absurd that you would even, consider this. It's like, yeah. All right. So that, I mean, it's semi-serious, and you're like, yeah, like, there would be legitimate reasons to do that. As far as he was kind of like, oh, this is going to be the make it or break it, I have to have Greenland no matter what. No. That's, that didn't seem to be the case. That didn't seem to be the case from anybody's point of view. Except for, I guess, radical leftists who's like, oh, can't believe it, he's global domination. By offering to buy things?
No, they basically are hopping on the Denmark bandwagon. Since their prime minister or leader or whoever basically made Trump out to be a fool, they hopped on board and said, hey, this is an opportunity to make him look like a fool. How stupid. Who would even think of buying Greenland? Lots of people. He's a real estate guy.
Yeah, so, there's a lot of
opportunity. He's gonna check it out. That's what he does. That's what he's been doing for decades. Why wouldn't he? So it's just another way for the media trying to hop on something and say, look how stupid Trump is. He's so dumb he has to buy Greenland. I mean, if I was president, I would check it out at least.
Yeah.
Ask the question and say, is that possible? Hey, Denmark, is that possible? No? Okay. Just checking. So,
and that's what I was saying. Well, I was like, well, if you think that we've got money set aside to buy land and that sort of thing, I was like, well, consider offering money for Hong Kong. China just wants to control it. And I was like, hey, China, how would...
It's a good idea about that. If we offer a trade with China and say, you can own Hong Kong, but everyone that lives in Hong Kong that doesn't want to be under your rule can move to the U.S., and we're going to ship Antifa over there because they don't like our country. So they can move over there where they already have communism.
Yeah.
So that's both worlds. We'll just do a trade.
Yeah, we could do a trade, or we could like, hey, well, what if we just purchase that from you, and then you can have something to... I don't know. I don't think we'd actually give up any land in the U.S., so I think that they would never agree to anything like that.
The Philippines.
Yeah.
Puerto Rico, we can't give any of that up.
Yeah.
We're kind of its protectorate, I guess.
Yeah.
So if we just said, hey, sorry guys, goodbye, poof, toss it back out in the ocean.
Okay, so Hong Kong may not be... It would be amazing if we could purchase it and actually liberate those people and actually treat them well, but then that creates all kinds of tensions because that gives us land right next to China, and China, that creates all kinds of tension. What about... Yeah.
Possibility of that.
Yeah. But what about... So, yeah, the population trade, I'd be all for. Like, yeah, get rid of our socialists and we'll accept your capitalists.
The U.S. flag over there.
Yeah.
Apparently they like this country.
Yep.
Come on over.
So the other thing is, well, what about Venezuela? I'm sure that they've got a lot of land that they don't use, and they could desperately use the money right now. Hey, we're just going to purchase a portion of Venezuela.
Not all of it.
Not all of it, just the oil rights, or what?
Or maybe 90% of it, and for all of the other socialists that want the remainers, like, here's your tiny spot of land. You cross this line, we're going to shoot you. Have fun.
Yeah. Be like, hey, Venezuela, just let us buy this from you. We will give you money, however, or maybe just rent it. Like, hey, we'll rent this area, and then you'll get steady income from us, but we will own this land, and it's ours to say what we want. And all of your citizens who don't like socialism, we can invite them onto our area, and they can work on our stuff that we're got down there. And all of your socialist crazies, yeah, you don't, no thank you. You're not welcome in our stuff.
I don't think that would work either. Problem with Venezuela is right now their government still has too much of a military presence.
Yeah.
Even if we were to back off and we were to say, we're going to rent this territory, this land, and we'll pay you such and such for the next 50 years.
Yeah.
Once they see that we have revived their oil industry there,
they just come and seize it.
They'll come in and seize it.
Yeah.
And then now we're at war with them, and they say, this is our land, and you're intruding, blah, blah, blah. And they'll go burn it down again because they're idiots.
Yeah.
Not the people, just the leadership there.
It's kind of a mix, because even with a lot of the people, a lot of the protesters who are like, yeah, we need to get rid of the leaders and replace them with somebody who's just as much of a socialist. And I'm like, they're not getting it.
Yeah.
Okay. Next topic is the Plan B for Planned Parenthood it's getting very little coverage from what I can see. I haven't seen anybody talking about that. What? Yeah, you haven't heard it yet. Like, I haven't heard Ben Shapiro or any of these other major news, but it was on Twitter. Like, a couple of places were posting about this. So what this is, Trump changed a policy that required hospitals to separate abortions from their other practices. In order to receive federal funding, they have to split abortions from everything else they're doing for medical procedures. And Planned Parenthood cannot do this, and rather than split the two, opted out of government funding. They are losing, it was $60 million?
Oh, so it means if they want government funding, they can't do abortions.
No, they can do abortions, they just have to separate them. They have to separate out the funding and the facilities.
So kind of two different companies.
Yes. But Planned Parenthood said no. They are saying no to millions of dollars.
Like 80% of their business is abortions, or 90%, whatever. It's not those meetings and contraceptives.
So people are people talking about this was like, that's he backed him into a corner, and it's like, yeah, you either, because it was kind of there was all this like, oh, we need to stop funding Planned Parenthood government. The way that it was done was perfectly within the executive office's realm of responsibility. And it got Planned Parenthood to say, nope, no thanks to government funding. It got them to leave rather than putting something into law and going through Congress and having it be like, oh, no funding for these types of facilities. Planned Parenthood said, nope, we're out. So they're gonna, granted, this is probably not gonna put a huge dent into their business, because they're more than likely gonna keep on doing what they're doing and say, oh, this is terrible that the president caused us to do this, and they're still gonna make all of their money off of abortions, but it's getting harder and harder for them to claim that they provide all of these services other than abortions when it's been proven countless times no.
Nope,
so 80% of what they do is abortions, and the other 15 to 20% is stuff in preparation for abortions.
Yeah, there's that lady that came out with a book?
Yeah.
She's a manager at one of the facilities?
Yeah, Abby Johnson, she came out with, she's come out with books. She's also gone around to, she's the head of an organization that speaks out about Planned Parenthood, and also had a movie.
Teenagers to go be promiscuous and say, yeah, just remember use contraceptive, when they know damn well those teenagers aren't going to use it.
Yeah, and that so her organization had the Unplanned movie that was in theaters nationwide that got that was the social media companies were suppressing. So it's one of those things. There were people who had signed up to follow that account on Twitter, the Unplanned movie account, and then were getting, so they would sign up, and then 5 seconds later they'd be unfollowed, and they're like, wait, what? I just followed them, and then go back and follow again, and then, hey, wait a minute, I just followed this. What's going on here? So there's people who have videos of this, and for about an hour or two after they were showing this video, then the problem, the technical difficulty magically stopped. And it wasn't affecting any other account on Twitter at the time except for the Unplanned account. That's... oh, technical difficulty. That impacts only one user? No, that's BS. Anyway. So that was Abby Johnson and her organization. Former manager or whatever it is, position at Planned Parenthood. She used to run one of the facilities, then had a complete change, saw something at the facility, completely changed her perspective on what's going on, had several abortions, I think 2 abortions herself. Prior to that, didn't see the moral dilemma of abortion, and then saw something at their facilities. It's like, yeah, no, this is not what I thought it was. This is barbaric, and we can't keep doing this, and changed her perspective completely. And then has been going on about, this is the stuff that they're doing on the the regular. Like, if you think abortions are morally acceptable, and they're just something, they're just a convenience thing, if you don't see any problem morally with it, and your entire business is, oh, yeah, we're selling these, okay, then you're going to do what they say, and you're going to try to upsell people on abortions, which is what she did. People would come in, like, not sure, they're on the fence, and it was their job to act as salesmen to sell women on the abortion rather than another option. And if you have no moral qualms, then you're going to do that. But as soon as you see oh, this is a huge moral dilemma, then you can't keep doing what you've been doing, and you can't, oh, wait a minute, I can't even continue to work here because the only way I can keep my job here, or the only thing that keeps this place going, is upselling people on abortions. There's no, counseling on other options, or how we can prepare you for adoptions or prenatals, or because Live Action has been exposing this stuff as well. So it's a different organization, but similarly against abortion and against Planned Parenthood. They released a video a couple of days or possibly a week ago where they had called facilities, the Planned Parenthood facilities, asking about their prenatal program. Because prenatal was something that the executives...
I saw that.
Yeah.
I think 1 out of 20 facilities had any sort of prenatal facilities.
And you can hear it, so she would call in, and the people would say, no, we don't offer that. I don't think any Planned Parenthood facility offers that. Like, these are people who work there every day, and yet the executives of Planned Parenthood are going to these conferences and they're talking about all the services. Mammograms and prenatals, and yet people working at the facilities on a day-to-day basis are like, prenatals? Do we even do that? I don't think any of us do that. I don't think any... Like, imagine walking...
They're not preparing to help the children, like the birth children. They don't have facilities for that. Helping the mom prep to actually birth the child.
Yeah, it'd be similar to, Tim Cook of Apple having a big press conference and announcing the newest version of Apple, like the newest version of the iPhone, and then you go into a Geek Squad and you ask about, oh, hey, my iPhone whatever is broken, and the Geek Squads are like, wait, I don't even think that's an iPhone model, guy. We don't even do that here. I don't think any of the Geek Squads do that.
Yeah.
That's, you're like, wait a minute. That's something that should raise red flags and be like, wait a minute, how do the people working at these facilities, and it wouldn't, I could understand one bad employee, but they went around and called a bunch of them nationwide, and were like, yeah, we got similar responses from the majority of these. Only like you said, 1 out of 20 facilities actually had something. And that's supposed to be the key selling point that the executive of Planned Parenthood is telling the stockholders and telling Congress members. We do this and this and that. And apparently not in the majority of your facilities.
Yeah, where does your revenue come from? That'll tell what your focus is on. Any business, period. Your biggest revenue point is what you're investing in.
Alright. So it's very interesting that they're now no longer accepting government funds, and it's not because they had the moral fortitude to stop taking money from people who don't want to support their activities. They got backed into a corner, and rather than do what they claim they can do easily by separating the two, they chose, no, we're just gonna say no to your money.
Yeah. Because they separate it and say this is only for abortions.
Because then
a lot of business.
Well, they would lose a lot of business, and they would also they couldn't claim that 80, because what they claim right now is that only 20% of their business is abortions, or 25% or something low like that. They will claim that they do 20 different operations, and only one of those is abortion. And you're like, but all of those 19 other things are in preparation for that one abortion.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Most of their visits end up in abortion.
Yeah.
Eventually. They count each visit as a separate operation or appointment, separate procedure.
Yeah.
So the same woman can have 6 different interactions with them, but ultimately ends up in an abortion.
Yeah. And if they followed the requirement that the Trump administration is adopting, they wouldn't be able to do that anymore.
Abortions.
They wouldn't be able to claim, oh yeah, only 1 in 20 of our operations is an abortion. Yeah, of like, well then they get an audit and be like, nope, it's actually, it's 99%, possibly 100% abortions.
There is a group kind of on the left side, left thinking, that says it's just okay. It should be available anytime. I don't know why it's so stigmatized. It should just be available. They're still going to get business from that group of people.
Yeah.
But all the moderates, the fence sitters, the ones that are like, I don't know if I want it, if the business splits, they are not going to be swayed because they're going to go to the facilities with potential adoption options, contraceptives. Yeah. Hey, what are my options? And since they can no longer say abortion is an option, it's a separate business over there, you need to go over there and not talk to us. They're not going to get that business anymore.
Yep.
And that's the whole front for even having all those other services to bring them in. So, yeah, they can't split, or a large chunk of their funding, more than what the government subsidizes, would fall off.
Yeah. So abortion is so important to their business strategy, so fundamental to their business strategy, that they won't. They're willing to say no to, I think it's $60 million annually. $60 million annually. They're willing to say no to that in order to keep the rest of their business, to keep abortions tied into the rest of their business. Should tell you a lot about how important that is to their bottom line.
Yeah, I don't even know how we got to that state. How was abortion considered? Yeah, I guess with their wordplay or mental gymnastics, they could say it's women's health. Yeah. It's her emotional health and her financial health, her career health, whatever.
Yeah. Okay, so...
There's no ability for guys' health. If he has to pay child support, he doesn't get to see those kids, right? So if she decides to have the child and then doesn't stay with the dad, there's no support for the guys. So guys' financial health. So I don't even see how those tie together.
Yeah. Doesn't make any sense.
Nope. It should just be, if her life is in danger, that's something that I think a doctor should be able to take a look at and say, weigh the pros and cons, and only then pose the decision. Should we do an abortion here because your life is in jeopardy? That I get.
Yeah. Yeah, okay, so that reminds me, there's also been a lot of these heartbeat bills that have been going through and being passed by a lot of states lately within the past.
They're basically just trying to get the Supreme Court to reevaluate Roe vs. Wade and say that's antiquated, old health information that is not accurate. Revamp your stuff.
Yeah, and I think North Carolina just joined in on that like a couple weeks ago. And a lot of those bills, they do say, hey, if there's complications, if this is threatening the life of the mother or the child, then yes, that's perfectly, that's an exception. But
I think ultimately some of the states would like to get rid of abortion, period, except for some of the rare exceptions, like mother's actual health, her life. But I think the end goal is at least to get it down to only first term, which will chop off a substantial amount of abortions. Because first term is kind of when they consider that's what the heartbeat bill's somewhat based off of. Is that's when you kind of, at the end of the first term, is when the baby starts to develop, has a heartbeat, has a brain. You can kind of, it looks like a small human being at that point. So within the first, 3 months?
Mm-hmm.
So I think that's kind of the end goal. I know a lot of them would like it to go down to 0.
Yeah, 3 months is actually, usually it's 8 weeks. 8 weeks, there's a detectable heartbeat.
8 to 12 weeks, they were. Yeah. It depends on the state and what information they've got. But I mean, that's better than just saying, "Hey, up the full term."
Yeah. Well, the other thing is that also cuts into the other area of Planned Parenthood.
Take the baby out. We make sure it's comfortable, that it's there, and then we'll decide what to do.
Yeah, I was about to say
that's just murder.
Yeah.
He was already born. What the hell are you talking about? So we shouldn't even be approaching that area.
Yeah.
New York lighting up their buildings with pink. Hey, full-term abortions.
Yeah.
Why would anybody be proud of that?
So
it's 9 months to decide if you want that baby or not.
So I kind of want to go into conspiracy speculation after that, because I don't know if you saw Alex Jones, his full interview on Crowder.
Dude, man, he's right on a lot, but some of it seems so far out there. I'm like, I don't.
Dude, he is right on everything.
I did some research in that MK Ultra.
No, everything he said in that interview, he is right on the money. No, that's the scary part. Is like, oh, dude.
But to think that there's dark inner circles and that's how they introduce members is worse and worse acts.
Yes, this is stuff that has been going on since the days of Babylon. This is nothing new. This is stuff Alex Jones has been reporting on for decades. The whole Bohemian Grove and all that sort of thing. That is kind of like that's one of those initiation points.
Bohemian Grove, is that what the owl people?
Yep, that's what the owl people, and a lot of politicians go there and they do like a ritual sacrifice and some humiliating stuff. That's one of the entry points where they get somebody in this group and they're like, hey, we're going to give you power, you're going to get all this social influence and stuff like that. Get them doing something slightly humiliating. Okay, then one more step later, something a little more. Okay, you're willing to do that. Okay, now you're part of the group. What else? And they can continually just drag them further and further until they get to the point of, oh, there's no return. What have I done? What have I become?
Yeah, now I can't go against them at all because my life will be ruined. I will be dead.
Yeah. That's... He started jumping, and that's what I like. I like Alex Jones, and I know he's right on the factual information, but when he's presenting it, he is jumping too much. And Crowder couldn't obviously follow. He's like, yeah, I can't accept all that, and but Alex Jones is right on what he's talking about. This is stuff that has been. I don't know if it's been public secrets or it's stuff that I've known about for years. I'm kind of like, how are you guys just now finding out about this? And
yeah, but then he went on a whole topic of that after MK Ultra, that all got shut down. But this is kind of a derivative of that.
Yeah,
covert clandestine operations to get members in, and that they're cloning people to breed as soldiers and body parts and stuff.
Yeah. So he's got documentation to back that up. That's stuff that's not conspiracy. That's I don't know what else to say. Illegal. Yeah, but it's being done in other countries. It's not being done in the U.S. It's not being done in this is so, or at least not all of it. There's still a lot of it's being done in international waters and things like that don't. Yeah, there's a whole lot of crazy nonsense. So the way he described it is like, what these people want is immortality. That should be fairly obvious. Like, powerful leaders, they've got money, they've got political influence, they believe that they're talking with some external, like, some extra-dimensional being. Yeah, it's Satan, it's demons, this is... Alex Jones doesn't quite grasp the spiritual... or I think Alex Jones might be a Christian, but... when he's talking about this, he doesn't support the spiritual aspect of it. I do. And I'm like, yeah, this has been in every major religion outside of Christianity has had some form of this, where I guess even in Christianity, we've got it in the Vatican. Same thing there. How do you think all these priests get involved in like pedophilia and stuff? It's the same. You start off with one little action. Oh, hey, you did that. Then they get you do something else, and eventually you find yourself, you're part of this group where, the Vatican, the Vatican has the sword of Damocles, like, hey, I know what you've done. You are part of this. They're protecting those people who were pedophiles, and they're protecting them because, hey, you were willing to do that. We got you to do this. We got you to do. What else are you going to do for us? The Vatican was smuggling gold or Jewish gold for the Nazis. That's not conspiracy information. That's public knowledge that has been verified. The Pope was using his train to smuggle gold stolen from Jews on behalf of the Nazis. It's all intertwined.
Bishops.
Yeah.
The guy from New England that got caught, was that last year? And he had basically a retreat, like a pedo retreat.
Yeah.
What was his name? But the Pope knew about it.
It wasn't last year, right? No, you're talking about some. Okay, so there's the one of the royalty, Prince Andrew, is involved in this.
No, not Prince Andrew.
No, you're talking about the guy who was like their late night guy. But that was decades ago.
No. It was like last year. It was either a priest or a cardinal guy.
Oh, okay. This is talking about the Vatican Church.
He had a separate facility for that.
Yeah.
That he would invite young boys up to, and then he got caught, and I guess not extricated, but basically kicked out of the church. But then they went and asked the Pope, and everything was kind of hush, but it was alluded that they already
knew about it. Yeah. Authority. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. These are
records of it.
So what's going on with Epstein? So this is all conspiracy. This is all speculation. I'm gonna say speculation because a lot of this there's documentation to prove it. But the Epstein thing is a ring, and that is connected with the Vatican ring. They all come to the same central. They all have sexual deviancy, corruption of innocence, and murder of children. All of these rings eventually lead to that, and this is something you can see the same type of thing in Aztec culture, and see the same type of thing in a whole lot of religions. They all come down to sexual orgies type things, the priest class owning everything, and child sacrifice. This is pervasive throughout human history, and that's what Alex Jones was talking about. It's there's all these cultures, and they all have these same fundamental factors. And if you look at Aleister Crowley and the spirit cooking and all that sort of thing, it all comes to orgies, pedophilia, and then child sacrifice. That's the kind of the order of progression of all of these societies. Same thing throughout history. And there's all these patterns. So it keeps coming up in new variations or new under a new header or a new banner, but it's all the same Hydra. And that's what I said. That Epstein is one tentacle of this thing. The Vatican is another tentacle of this thing. All of the Wicca stuff is another tentacle of this. The spirit cooking and all that sort of thing. Hollywood is enwrapped in that because of their via Epstein or via their ties with Weinstein. This is all interconnected. Sadly, this is all interconnected. You would hope that it was one individual being, but this is a network of corruption, and at the head of it is Satan, and I can't see anything other than that. But again, maybe that's because I'm hysterical, or maybe I'm radical, or zealot or something like that. But it seems fairly obvious to me that all of these. Okay, here's another example like this: the Muslim, right? In Islam, this is also something that happens. There's a culture where rape is the norm, or accepted as a form of punishment. Child brides and pedophilia are rampant, and child sacrifice. They just killed a 12-year-old kid or something like that for listening to rock Western music. They murdered him in the street, and that's what they're doing in the streets. What they're doing behind closed doors is worse. The stuff that they don't publicize is worse. It's always worse behind closed doors, and all of these factions, they all have these same principles, and they all lead to the same source. There was that what I thought you were alluding to is there was a guy in England who was basically their version of Jay Leno. He hosts the big late night shows, the biggest thing on TV and all that sort of thing. Huge pedophile ring around him. He got I forget his name, but Elijah Woods and Corey Haim. The other Corey Feldman. This is over 15 years at this point. Both of them came out and said, yes, this was rampant in Hollywood in the U.S., where they have pedophile rings And there are child stars involved in this, and there are child musicians involved in this, and there are these parties where they do drugs and they have sex orgies, and they get children involved, and yeah.
Yeah,
and
I know that Feldman guy's been talking about it for a while.
Yeah. So according to Feldman, Haim committed suicide because of that. And if you look at, there are a lot of child actors and child, celebrities who go crazy when they're in their late teens and 20s. Miley Cyrus and all this sort of thing. And I'm like, pedophilia within these, and this corruption and all this sort of thing. Drew Barrymore talked about doing cocaine when she was 12. Like, that's all of these things, and you're like, yeah, these are rampant cultures, and they all lead to the same destructive path. That's so in addition, man, this is but I'm sounding like Alex Jones right now, but I'm like, these are things that I know for a fact. Well, I know for a fact that there's a ring in Hollywood that is involved in pedophilia, and whether that's associated with Epstein or not, I am not sure. Epstein seemed to be more associated with businessmen and politicians. The Hollywood thing is all about celebrities and rock stars and things like that. Oh yeah, Gavin McInnes did a show about rock stars having sex with 14-year-olds and 12-year-olds. Like, they were out in the open with this sort of stuff.
Oh yeah, are there roadies and stuff?
Yeah.
That's known.
That's so what is speculation on my part is that they're all tied together. That's speculation on my part, but I can't see how that's not the case. I see it all forming this pattern of they all follow these same progression, and once somebody gets involved, they get into the inner side, and once they get to the middle level, they start recruiting more people into it. They become, so they start out as victims, and then they start creating victims, and then eventually they become, as they move closer and closer towards the end, they become the puppeteers. So that's what he was talking about. It's like the Clintons have gone into that inner circle, and now they're the puppeteers, and they're manipulating people that they know are compromised. And Crowder was talking about how the FBI could, didn't do anything. It's like, that's because so what Jones didn't make clear was the FBI is compromised, possibly at the highest levels. I don't know if this goes up to Barr or something along those lines. It seems like Barr is on the up and up for the most part. I don't know, but this sort of thing is going to blow over, and that's because there's so many people within the intelligence administration, within the FBI, within the CIA, that have been compromised. Maybe their name is in that black book and they don't want it out. Like, there's so much.
Well, it's already been reported on Epstein's death that the coroner finally said, oh, no, definitely suicide. Never mind those broken neck bones.
Yeah.
100% suicide. We all know. All right, let's wrap that up, bury that, we're done. And there's no more investigation, even though they're supposed to have evidence on multiple other parties involved.
Yeah.
Why are there no investigations when they have evidence?
Yeah, so there's...
The whole thing's just being dropped.
And, okay, so there's one more thing that I know about, but this was not widely spread or widely public knowledge, but this was... Because I found out about this, like, when I was... I forget. Like, you just go down these YouTube rabbit holes sometimes, and I found a clip. This was being reported not on BBC, but on one of their other news channels in the UK. There was a mother who was divorced from her husband at the time, and her 2 children, and the father of the 2 children was the head of a religious group. It was something... I don't know if it was his own cult version or something like that, but he's head of some religious group, not Christianity, but something Christian-esque, like some kind of,
like a Waco kind of thing?
Like pretending to be Christian sort of denomination type thing. And had a church and a school. And they were combined or whatever. And his kids went to that school. And the kids came to the mother and they started talking about... so I guess the start of the story is that she walked in on the 2, and they were doing something together that she's freaked out. And when she asked how they something, I try not. I guess there's no way avoiding this. Something of a sexual nature. And when she asked them what was going on, both of them had the exact same story, saying that this is what they learned at school from their dad. And based on the report, the mom and the two children had the same report the entire time. And there was British investigators, former cops and stuff that started going and interviewing these people. And they said these kids have had a consistent story the entire time. They haven't made anything up. And they're talking about this place, going to school and having parties where everybody gets naked and they all have sex with each other. And this school is like a multi-million, possibly billion-dollar thing. They've got a whole bunch of connected political British figures going there, sending their kids there and that sort of thing. And the two kids are talking about them doing child sacrifices and getting infants from abortions and things along those lines, and using the blood and drinking the blood and using the blood in the sex acts. And I'm like, dude, this is occultism and Satanism at its highest. And this was...
disgusting.
Yeah, and I found out about this like 10-ish years ago or so, and I'm like, dude, that's the exact same thing that spirit cooking is. And all of these things are and this whole story got blown out. Like, so the children were taken away from the mother. The mother was kicked out of the UK, cannot see her kids. The kids are still in the custody of the father. And people who were working in the investigation, they quit over this completely. So everybody who was involved in the investigation were like, yeah, these kids are telling the truth. They had the social worker who was like, yes, these kids are not making this up. This is not a story they heard from their mother. This is not some crazy ramblings. This is legit, and nothing. Completely swept under the rug. This guy goes on, and he still has his church and school, and this guy is completely untouchable. These things exist all over the world. And they all have the similar patterns of crazy insanity, and it all goes back to occultism and Satanism. And it's and I saw the Alex Jones interview, and I'm like, dude, exactly.
I don't know, maybe he's just hard to believe because
because he keeps jumping around so much. He was started talking about ninjas, and he was
100 different points. Yeah. Ninjas.
But he's not
in there, but he went so fast. I was like, did you just go to a different topic, or how's this related?
He was doing a poor job of connecting the dots, because he has been doing this for 40, maybe 30-ish years of talking almost nothing about this exclusively. He is in this daily. And so there's things that he knows and takes for granted as, oh, that's just common knowledge. That's just common knowledge, of course. So he goes to explain it, and Crowder and everybody watching is like, dude, what? Wait, how did you just get... What are you talking about? You're talking about... But as far as I can tell, from what I know, I was like, dude, everything he was saying was right on the money, and this is not something... And again, maybe that's because I knew about stories, I've known about things that they get reported on, and even when a high profile somebody talks about this. Yeah, Elijah Woods, gave this interview where he was talking about this, maybe a year after The Lord of the Rings. I mean, it was right around the times where that was the biggest franchise. He was the biggest star. All the people involved with that. He goes out there and gives this interview, and he's talking about these pedophile rings in Hollywood, that they're bigger than the ones in the UK that just got unraveled with that the late night host guy. He's saying, yeah, it's bigger and it's more rampant. He gets kind of blackballed by Hollywood and gets, he's kind of relegated to he was a big deal after Lord of the Rings.
I wonder if that's what the whole Weinstein thing is, the Me Too movement. It seems on the surface to be a good idea. Yeah, women come forward when you've been abused. I agree with that.
Mm-hmm.
You shouldn't let, high-powered anybody, men or women, push you around. But he was kind of the scapegoat. How many people, other Weinsteins, have come out since
then?
Dude,
yeah, no, yeah. So Bryan Singer, the guy behind the X-Men series franchise, come out. Yeah, apparently not only just gay, but pedophiles, orgies, drug parties. That's been kind of open secrets for years, and now he's got various accusers of. Yeah, definitely.
Just a couple that got slightly revealed. They're like, sorry, you gotta go.
Yeah, it's way more rampant, and these stories are being covered up. Like, so Kevin Spacey, that he was apparently, yeah. So it seems like, oh, it's just a one-off sort of thing, but all of these people walk in circles together, and they are all covering for each other.
I don't care if it's a one-off thing. If it happens once, you're done.
Yeah, it should be a once and done, and yet you see the system close around and start defending them.
Here. You have no job here. Get away from me.
Like, so Roman Polanski...
A normal person doesn't think, I know they're only 12, but that's not a normal line of thought.
Roman Polanski, definitely guilty, and yet Hollywood's still covering for him and still treats him as if he's some idol. He's like, oh, some great... All of these people still talk about him in high regard. It's not like he's not the pariah that he should be, and Weinstein is not the pariah he should be, and people are coming up and defending, and like they're protecting, and you're like, where else did we see this? In the Catholic Church, when all this started coming out, what did they do? They huddled up and defended each other, and they started, oh, we'll just move them to a different school, we'll move them to a different move them to a new area, no one will ever find out about this, and huge cover-ups on this. And you're seeing it in completely, like, Hollywood's secular sector, and you're seeing it in the Vatican's supposedly religious sector, and then you're also seeing this for Epstein, and you're seeing, it's like, dude, you're seeing these exact same patterns repeat themselves in the exact same formats across all these, to pretend that these are one-offs, or that this is all, and that these are operating independently. To me, that seems insane to treat these as if they are isolated incidents, because I'm like, that they all follow these same patterns, and you see these same things repeating themselves. It's all connected to that same Hydra, the same serpent, same dragon.
Yeah, I can see that. I was kind of wondering, so with Alex Jones and everyone just like, oh, cuckoo conspiracy theorist guy, and they got all these clips, they're turning the prophets gay and blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
I get why he looks like a nut job.
Yeah. And I think that actually works to his advantage.
But I was thinking, if you look back in Genesis, right? Noah's building the ark.
Mm-hmm.
He probably sounded just like that because there was no rain. According to what we've got in Genesis, they had rivers, they had boats, but water didn't fall from the sky, and the earth they didn't have flash floods or any of that kind of stuff. So everyone was thinking, what a wackadoo.
Mm-hmm.
Why building a massive boat, storing all this food and grain and animals? Nothing comes from the sky. It's just sunny or it's night. What are you talking about? But if he just came across as, if you knew the world was going to end like that, would you be calm and collected and say, well, guys, seriously, let's sit down and have a discussion. I'll tell you why the world's going to end like this. Or would you be yelling, guys, I'm telling you, the world's going to end. So if you've got some major information, especially stuff like this, stuff he's been researching for decades, I think he's just adamantly trying to get the message out, but on the bad side of that, it's hard to accept when it's that absurd and when it's pushed out like, hey!
Yeah, so I'm going to take this to kind of transition to the next topic, because I think we've got, this is unexpected, and I kind of went, so I probably sound like a crazy person. I'm like, yeah, but there's documentation and,
going on, and even this whole Epstein thing,
that
news is done.
Yeah, so there's a whole lot of this so Alex Jones talks about a lot of things, and he's got documentations, he's got sources, he's got proof And a lot of these have been verified by the various organizations, like, from internal records from the CIA or from FBI and that sort of thing. And the turning the friggin' frogs gay, yeah, it was talking about a chemical that actually, turning gay is probably incorrect because it's more like, it actually made them transition. So because frogs, like, when there's a shift in their hormones, they'll go from female to male or male to female. And that's what was going on because of an introduction of some kind of, it was a component in fertilizer. And it was turning the male frogs into female frogs because it was increasing their estrogen levels. But this component that he was talking about was being used in drugs, pharmaceuticals that they were experimenting with for humans. And that's why he's saying they're turning the freaking frogs gay. He's like, yeah, the same component where you're seeing these elevated levels of estrogen in frogs, which in frogs it's more apparent that it causes them to change from male to female. We're trying to use this for human experiments, and you're seeing estrogen levels rise. Oh, guess what's going on? Yeah.
On the frog issue, frogs have been known to do that naturally anyways.
Yes, so naturally.
They have some biological component to them that allows them, that's part of what makes their species survive in case there's a lack of one male or female wherever they are.
Yeah.
Humans are kind of not in the same realm.
But no, so the changing from male to female is not something created by this drugs. The elevated estrogen levels that force that. That happens when the population is low, and there's, and so clownfish will also do this. So it's not the only species, but frogs were doing this in a situation where the frog population, it made no sense. The frog population was doing just fine. There was a mix of males and females, and then you started to see this explosion of males converting to females when there was no population shortage. That's what Alex Jones was talking about. So it's not like he changed nature or something like that. It's something's going on here. This is not normal. And when they traced it back, it was to this chemical compound in fertilizer, and that same chemical compound was being used on purpose in drugs. That's what that whole they're turning the freaking frogs gay. So he comes out with the meme-worthy thing, and then you follow it, and you're like, dude, yeah. This is actually a thing. He's actually got documentation of pharmaceutical companies experimenting with this on humans. You're like, yeah, if this has enough of an impact on a frog where it will trigger the, in case of emergency response that they would normally develop, and you're using that on humans, that's not, it's going, you're trying to force something or change something about humans when you're doing that chemically. It's not a, Oh, so the other thing about that, Alex Jones has been going on for years about fluoride in the water and that sort of thing, and recent study, definitely another reason, I guess a more mainstream, because Cernovich was tweeting, or talked about this on Twitter, fluoride in the water linked to reduction in IQ points. This was, I forget when this actually was. And that's, So that I've seen documentations on this previously, and the fluoride in the water thing is what actually first led me to Alex Jones. So I was researching, and I was like, oh, dude, wait a minute. Why are we doing this? This is not even the fluoride in our water is not even the same type that's in your toothpaste and that sort of thing. It's an industrial waste product. So because fluoride, like most chemicals, has various compounds. There's various different versions of it, and the fluoride in the water is not even the same that's in your toothpaste. It doesn't have the same effect as far as protecting your teeth and all of that, and yet it's being used in.
It does that somewhat.
Not to what they're
No, it's not going to give you pearly whites, but it'll make your teeth last longer. There are studies showing America's dental health or dental hygiene has improved slightly.
Well, they're claiming that's because of the fluoride in the water, but people brush more. We have got more programs is getting people.
That's true, but I'd rather take care of my teeth.
Taking care. No. So okay. Here's the thing that doesn't make any sense. It's like fluoride is good for your teeth. Okay, yes, that's provable. So put fluoride into the potable water in over 60% of water in the United States. Well, okay, so that means you're using that water for cooking, for cleaning, showering, washing your car, washing your hair. That fluoride? Wait a minute. How often do you use fluoride in your mouth? Like the tap water in your mouth. How often do you use tap water in your mouth? Very few people actually drink tap water. A lot of people drink bottled water. You're like, wait a minute. And yet every drop of water that comes through the tap, I don't know if it's every drop has some amount, but I mean, you're talking about all of the water that goes through our water supply has fluoride in it. How much of it is actually going on your teeth? Statistically, not very much.
No, I drink bottled water. I've been doing that for years.
Yeah.
Water.
So other countries, they put fluoride in, like, the table salt and stuff like that. I'm like, okay. Still, you don't want to ingest fluoride, but at least that's... You're not going to... Salt's not going on your car or on your skin, or... It's going to go in your mouth. At least it's getting on your teeth. Okay, that somewhat makes more sense. I'm like, how much water do you use that doesn't ever touch your teeth?
Most.
Yeah. So why would that be a place you would want fluoride? But you know what? Your clothes are soaked in it. When you wash your clothes, you shampoo, you take a shower in it, you bathe in it. Well, your skin absorbs everything that you touch.
And that's probably my ignorance. But I was watching some dental hygiene videos just to see if there was some stuff wrong. Because I started using a little floss picks and everything. But they said do not rinse your mouth after you brush your teeth.
Yeah.
I didn't know that. I was always in the habit of, like, a little cup, rinse it out. But
and that's you always saw that on TV too, right? Anytime somebody's...
Yeah, it's in movies, it's TV, everybody does that, so I didn't know. But that's why it's called mouth rinse on the bottles. You're supposed to do that after you brush your teeth, and then spit that out, and don't rinse that either. Yep. Because that also has fluoride and chemicals that help strengthen your enamel. But even when you brush your teeth, you're not supposed to use water. So if you're not drinking tap water, none of the water gets in your mouth. Unless you're the kind that gargles the shower water. I don't know.
Yeah.
After seeing calcium buildup and stuff on the nozzle, no.
So
I have stopped doing that years ago.
Yeah, but so the claims that people like Alex Jones and when I was researching this, it's like, yeah, that means the majority of that is actually going to either go on your skin or on your clothes or just get wasted on your lawn. So
well, and so is the purpose because that's a chemical? I guess chemical waste product of some other process.
Yes.
Companies are just saying
it is a chemical.
Yes. People will pay us for this. Let's invent the use margarine.
Yeah. So that's a component of it, but I am of the more conspiratorial theorist where it's like Hitler was using fluoride as a kind of mind control because it suppresses your ability to think. Fluoride has been linked in studies to reducing your IQ, making people more susceptible to instructions or commands. This was actually similar to LSD and all that sort of thing. Like, yeah, granted, the Nazis there's documentation on that. They were feeding their people. Yeah, they were drugging their soldiers. You don't just. Oh, I'm just gonna go gas the Jews today. Okay, again.
I didn't read that documentation.
Yeah.
That's craziness.
Yeah, and so fluoride was one of those things that they were talking about using to make the entire population, the entire Nazi passive, because you're talking about lowering the IQ and also making people more susceptible to follow instructions and that sort of thing. And it had been linked in studies, and so they're like, yeah, we should start using this on our population to keep them from revolting, to keep them from, because I'm sure people in the German government were like, dude, this is all wrong, the way they're treating the Jews. Like, yeah, there were people like that, because there's people who hid them in their attics and in their walls and under their floors. Those people would be like, yeah, we're going to fight that. If they realized how many of them there were, they would start a revolution in Germany, and that would overthrow the entire power structure. So one of the ways, like, once you're in power like that, and you know you're doing something inherently wrong, because all the Nazis knew At least all the higher-ups knew that they were doing something implicitly wrong, and they looked for ways to control their population. Fluoride was one of the ways that they were looking to do that. So...
That's messed up.
Yeah, it's... So that's why I drink reverse osmosis water. I always check on anything that I own or any kind of filters. It's like, yeah, what's the process? Because charcoal filters will do... It will get rid of most of the contaminants. It will not filter out fluoride, and it will not filter out chlorine. So, like, I think those zero filters are actually really good. But also, reverse osmosis, that's pure distilled water. Let's see. Okay, sorry, huge side tangents and all that sort of thing, but I just want to say Alex Jones, but I want to say Alex Jones sounded crazy, and I think I sounded crazy, and like you were saying, if you believe something is true, you go out there and you say it, no matter, even if it makes you sound crazy, it's because, yeah, you believe it, and it's the truth as far as you know. The difference, I'm going to say, that's what AOC is doing. She, for the most part, at least from what we can tell, believes what she's saying. She goes out there and says it and sounds absolutely crazy. Now, the difference is the documentation and the evidence she has doesn't support it.
Anything coming out of her mouth.
The actual evidence in science says the opposite, and you're like, whoa, wait a minute.
Well, history also shows that type of rhetoric has already been spouted out for decades.
Yeah.
I mean, Al Gore is like the forerunner of this whole...
But it goes before him, too. Leonard Nimoy was in a documentary. He's talking about global cooling, and I saw something the other day. It was the guy who wrote a book, The Politically Incorrect Guide to Climate Change, I think it was. A guy who wrote that book. He was talking about the armadillo was used both as proof of global cooling and as a mascot and proof of global warming. Because of the armadillo, people were saying because of global cooling, the armadillo is migrating south where it's warmer. But then now they're like, oh, the armadillo is migrating north because of global...
They wander around. Who knows?
No, they do. They migrate as the seasons change and all that sort of thing. Because, yeah, they go to cooler... They're trying to get to a moderate environment. It's like, wait a minute. How is the armadillo proof for global cooling and also proof for global warming? Like, wait a minute.
Yeah, I mean, it's all dependent on scale. If every fall they say, look, global cooling. And every spring they're like, look, global warming.
Yeah. You can't... And that's what they're saying right now. A natural disaster is proof of global warming. A lack of a natural disaster, proof of global warming. Well, they don't say global warming, they say climate change. But...
And according to history, we've had worse years in the past.
Yeah.
Even before the Industrial Revolution. Multiple storms just wiping out now. It's just because the coastal towns are so populous now, we're going to see more damage. But the amount of storms, the severity, we don't know if that's going up or down. It just seems to fluctuate. It's all over.
Yeah.
There's no consistent trend either down or up.
Well, that's the other thing is they're talking about the thinning of the ice in the Arctic Circle, and they're saying that's because of climate change or global warming, and it's like
half of the planet, Antarctica is getting bigger.
Yes, Antarctica is getting bigger, but also that Arctic Circle, that Northwest Passage has opened previously in history when we weren't burning near as much carbon. We weren't releasing as much carbon in the atmosphere, and yet the Northwest Passage has been open previously in history.
Well, when we were growing up, had that hole, the hole in the ozone over Antarctica and parts of Australia.
Yeah.
That's closed up now.
Yeah.
I think it's opening up more.
They
found that it shifts. It goes to different poles and alternates over a certain amount of decades or centuries.
And it's not even a hole in the ozone layer. It's where it's like it's thinner here because there's more of it over there. It's shifting around.
Yes. So I mean, I think with further scientific discoveries, we're learning more about our environment, but we're seeing things that we didn't know existed, and then attributing that to human intervention.
Yeah. I don't want to go down the climate change too far, because that's a completely whole other subject, and I've already spent too much time talking about the inner circles and Alex Jones. But the reason I was bringing up AOC is because I kind of want to transition into the Rashida Tlaib and Ilhan Omar versus Israel thing that was going on last week. So, Ilhan Omar and Rashida Tlaib have been advocating for a boycott, divestment, and sanctions of Israel. And they were going on a trip to Palestine, funded by a group that that funds terrorists. So Israel said that they're not allowed, and they're banned them from entry in the country, and then they claim victim, oh, how dare you not let us into the country.
You're wanting to boycott and sanction us.
Yeah.
And then you want to come in? What is wrong with you?
So the best or most obvious, these guys are just nothing honest about them. So Rashida Tlaib makes this crying argument and goes on in front of people, and she's got this post where she's talking about her 90-year-old grandmother lives in the Palestinian-controlled area of Israel, and she was hoping to see her grandmother because this may be the last time she sees her, and the trip was denied by Israel, and so now she can't go and see her grandmother, and please let her into the country so she can see her grandma one last time. Israel said, okay. And then she said, oh, nope, not going. Absolutely insane.
Israel should have not gone back on that.
Yeah.
The response should have been tough titty.
Yeah, she can leave Israel and come visit you, okay?
Yeah.
You've got enough money.
You want to push for sanctions against us, and then you want to come in? That's not happening.
Yeah, it's but how dare you? You're preventing me from seeing my poor grandmother. Okay, you can come in. No, I don't want in. What are you guys talking about? What about your grandmother? She was just using her own grandmother I'm like, man, absolutely, like the lowest of the low, these people. And AOC and Ilhan Omar have been supporting this, and it's all Trump's fault for some reason. It's just ridiculous. So I got it. Okay, this is probably bad, but I had a headline for that, and this was way too long to fit on the YouTube thing, but over prime ministers and through falsehoods to grandmother's house we don't go. Alright, I spent time coming up with that, figured I should use it. So yeah, that was the headline for that.
That's accurate.
Alright.
Yeah, I don't know why anybody even listens to that group.
Okay. It gets worse because this is another topic. So Simpsons, that apparently is still running. The Simpsons that I haven't watched in like probably 20. When did the movie come out? Like the movie I think is also 20 years old.
It's not that old.
Maybe like I don't know. It's got to be over 10.
I think it came out when I still worked at Blockbuster.
The Simpsons movie?
Yeah. So I would guess mid-2000s.
Yeah, okay. The movie, I'm looking that up, but
2006 or something, 2005.
They had a video kind of go viral, but for the wrong reasons. They released a little 2-minute short of Trump versus the Squad, and it is a parody of the West Side Story. Like I don't remember the name of the song. Like I think it's just called In America. And it's Trump versus the Squad, and it's them making fun of him, and it is. I thought it was a joke like it was produced by some YouTuber making fun of The Simpsons and in The Simpsons style. No, it's actually the same animators and voice actors and all the people behind The Simpsons who created this. The audio is terrible. The jokes are like you think Samantha Bee is bad. Like, go and watch this. I'm not gonna play it because apparently they're doing copyright strikes and stuff over it. Which is Fox is doing because some of the so the Quartering and a couple other people talked about that. It's like, yeah, there's people who have reposted it and Fox has taken their stuff down, so they had to repost the video without it. Goofy, but really, really bad quality. I actually thought it was somebody spoofing The Simpsons and saying this is their level of humor. And no, but it's actually the people behind the show who made this video clip. Ugh, it is, yeah. How the mighty fall, right? I mean, granted, The Simpsons has been on a decline for forever. Like, again, like everybody else has been saying, it's like, wait a minute, they still make The Simpsons? What? That show has been on the air for over 25 years or something like that.
Yep, yeah, I stopped watching.
Oh, yeah, The Simpsons was 2007, yeah. That's over 12 years, yeah.
Okay, yeah, I figured it was somewhere
Okay, not 20 years, but 12 years, yeah, it's... Yeah, it's been at least 12 years since The Simpsons was even remotely relevant. Futurama's much better show all around. That's sad that, I mean... At least they knew when to end it, sort of. No, they didn't. Never mind. They never know when to end the show. But at least they ended it, and it had 3 really good finales. Because they had the original finale when the show got canceled the first time, and then they had the mini series of movies finale, and then they had the Comedy Central finale. And all 3 of them are really good show enders, and the whole series is really good overall. But Simpsons, not so much. Simpsons has been forgettable. Like South Park and Family Guy took over as king of animation, and even King of the Hill was more watchable than The Simpsons, which is, yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. I think Simpsons went from being kooky family, silly stuff to trying to get too much into social issues.
Yeah. Since Lisa was always the most annoying, worthless character on the show, and it was supposed to be the voice of reason. No, it's just the voice of the annoying. Oh, no, not all smart people think that. There are smart people on both sides. Not every person who is smart is some radical hippie, non-believing nonsense crap.
Gotta be careful with that both sides statement. People might think you're a white supremacist.
Alright, well, I guess that kind of goes into the next topic. Wait, did I cover everything? Give me a second. Okay, so I covered that. Yeah, so that goes into the Portland thing. So the both sides, yeah. So that's what I've got some clips queued up for, although I can't share them in the Hangout. I'll try one last time. Please be visible, Hangout, for me to cast to. Nope. Alright. So the first clip, do you have that pulled up?
Yeah, I've already watched that. The interview with the Proud Boys, I guess, leader-ish guy.
Okay, so you watch, yeah. So that's what I wanted to talk about, because like this is the guy who's heading the Proud Boy, or heading that chapter or that rally for the Proud Boys. So I'm gonna switch over and play about 30 seconds of that clip.
I have with me one of the chairmen of Proud Boys, Enrique Tarrio, who is here. Why did you come to Portland? Why?
Okay, so I just wanna, I mean, this should be pretty obvious. The guy's name is Enrique Tarrio. I don't remember anybody named Enrique Tarrio ever being a Grand Dragon, or did Hitler have an Enrique Tarrio in his cabinet? Like, can't remember, but yeah.
Why was this brought forward? Because I do want to mention the fact that Joe Biggs said some pretty violent stuff.
Yeah, I'm not sure. I know Dave
saying
Chappelle
that
was
Antifa
the
bring
leader of
guns,
the chapter
and
of the
that really ratcheted
KKK.
things up and made people feel very nervous.
saw.
There was going to be violence brought by
Yeah.
you, by your group, to this city.
Okay, so first and foremost, we came over here to raise awareness for domestic terrorism. Now, that's not just for Antifa. That includes the shooting that happened in El Paso, the shooting that happened in Dayton, Ohio, the attempted firebombing in Tacoma, Washington, and the shooting at the ICE facility in San Antonio. I mean, I could go on, but that's what we came here to do. We've been planning this for 2 months. The straw that broke the camel's back was the attack on Andy Noah, independent journalist that was just trying to document Antifa, and he got brain hemorrhage from it. So
All right, yep. So, I mean, all of that, I mean, clearly hateful, and, because, wait, what did he just defend an Asian, reporter? Yeah, I mean, that's exactly the type of thing you would expect white supremacists and neo-Nazis to do, right? Like, the mental gymnastics these people have to do in order to say the Proud Boys are white supremacist Nazis, and, you know, I'm like, that guy's a white supremacist? What? Well, I mean, these are the same people who call Ben Shapiro a Nazi, and they call Candace Owens a Nazi, and you're like, what? Alright, that's just... Because he's defending... Yeah, he's talking about... Yeah, they're the violent ones. He's coming over here just pointing out... I mean... For the most part, like, this is from Saturday, so I think the violence or the actual footage of the more violent stuff happened either at the end of the day or towards the end of the day or on Sunday. It's hard to tell because people don't give you a firm timestamp on what. But this was the beginning when both sides were separated. So the Antifa guys were actually on the other side of the river at this point, and were not allowed to cross. There was a police barrier. So their actual rally was held in peace. And then it was after everybody started leaving, that's when things got violent. And it was like, that's when the chaos started to break out in Portland.
And I just want to mention that was in June. So
so the reports I heard, the Proud Boys only
that,
stuck around for the very beginning and then left.
Yeah.
They left with one minor incident, I think, between an Antifa guy and one of the Proud Boys. They broke it up, dragged the guy off, and said, "Okay, we're out of here." And then went and they had some drinks or a barbecue or something. So they left. All the violent stuff was Antifa attacking anybody that looked pro-Trump.
Yeah.
They just started picking on random people.
And
there was another melee.
So there was no left-right clash or fight. It was Antifa picking on
these things. Patriot Player, one of their
people attending the rally.
Himself in, Joey Gibson, for writing. And so, do you think this is a problem that both the right-wing groups and the left bring to the fore?
Absolutely not. Especially here in Oregon, you have Patriot Prayer that went to go practice their First Amendment rights. If you look at that video, Joey was spit on, pepper sprayed. I think Ted Wheeler needs an axe to grind, and we're not going to be that group. So that's why we came here today.
And explain to me, I don't understand why you're showing up. Is it to antagonize the mayor or the city? Because there are people here, people of color in particular, who I've talked to that feel like they're being terrorized because of some of the language that is used by groups like yours against them. And you all have a history also in Manhattan. There is a case right now where there's videos out there of 10 members of your group or people that are around your group who
they went ahead and
that's not the way the city.
That's fine.
That's not the way the city sees it.
The political powers of the governor and the mayor of New York. Same thing that Ted Wheeler wants to do. I've had an open communication, open dialogue with Portland PD for the past month. And then here we are. There was two different stories. There was Portland PD's story and Ted Wheeler's story. And again, Ted Wheeler needed an axe to grind. So what we did is our message was bold today. Our message wasn't, we didn't stay there. We didn't.
Yeah, all right. So I'm not going to play the whole thing, but yeah, he does talk about, like, they came there to mostly be peaceful, and, you know, if necessary, defend themselves. And he's talked about other events where people people were actively attacked and had pepper spray on them and that sort of thing. And it's like, yeah, that's what we're here highlighting, is that the Ted Wheeler, who is the mayor, or as the mayor of Portland, keeps defending Antifa and keeps calling them the bad guys. And he's like, yeah, but the Portland police officers are telling a completely different story. He's countering their narrative, and that's what they're here to highlight. Is, yeah, this is what we're doing. We're being peaceful. We're just doing our regular protest like we're allowed to do. And Antifa are the ones who keep coming by and being violent and spreading the... Yeah. That seems pretty apparent to everybody, apparently, except for CNN and things like that. Okay, so I didn't send you this one yet, but I will go ahead and send you the link to the next video here. Give me a second to queue this up.
Did you get to the chauvinist part?
No, chauvinist part.
Yeah, at about 3:50 on that CNN clip.
Okay.
She's like, so it's presented on your site that you guys call yourselves male chauvinists. He's like, whoa, that's not accurate at all. And she's like, yeah, it's on your site, male chauvinist. He's like, no. And then she's like, well, Western chauvinist. He's like, Western chauvinist. Like,
all right.
she intentionally just made that up, even though she is the one that corrected herself.
Okay. Yeah, I didn't get to that. So you said it's right around 3. That's where I paused it. So I'll play that part. Well, and you can... I'm only going to play... Let's see, I forget. I think it's like the first, 30 or so seconds of the next video.
Antagonize anybody. We held our hands in prayer. We bent a knee. And then we went ahead and we left. We sent our message with zero violence.
What is the message that you are trying to send? Because a lot of people see the message as one of intolerance, xenophobia, racism. What is the message that you are trying to actually send?
Just a second ago, you mentioned people of color, right?
Yeah.
And you said, and I'm a person of color, right? I'm Cuban, right? My family, 2 of my family members got killed in Castro's regiment. So it's a difference of opinion, whether it's people of color, white people. It's always about race. Our message isn't, today our message wasn't about race. Our message has never been about race. When you join our ranks, we don't ask you what race you are, what religion you are. We just accept you for who you are. We have liberals, and a lot of liberals. There's actually one prominent liberal that's here that's part of our ranks.
Liberals would probably dispute that, to say that you guys have a lot of liberals as a part of your group, and you call yourself male chauvinist, right?
No,
what does that mean? That's out there on.
No, it's not. No,
yeah,
it's not.
Yes,
You're
it is.
falsifying. It's not male chauvinist.
What
and
is
your
it?
viewers can watch that.
Western
It's
chauvinist?
chauvinist.
Okay,
So,
Western chauvinist. What does that mean? No, what does that mean? What is a chauvinist? What do you mean?
A chauvinist is somebody that's patriotic and extremely proud of their country. So you tried to twist my words and say that my group is male chauvinist. There's a big difference.
I'm letting you speak about it.
No,
I'm letting you speak about it. No, I just said Western.
You said, no. You said
I said male chauvinist, then correct myself. Said Western chauvinist. What does that mean? A lot of people hear the word chauvinist and they think male chauvinist. They think of people. And what you say on the website and what you have heard from Gavin McGinnis, who created this group, is that...
Oh. Yeah, I can't watch any more of that. So, yeah, I only watched about the first 2 or 3 minutes of this interview before queuing up that clip, because I didn't expect to play the full thing. Because I just wanted to get his initial reaction and talking about, they're not there for violence and all that. Yeah. Wow, yeah, the male chauvinist part is like, he said, man, and there she is trying to spin it as if she wasn't incorrect and didn't try to correct it for the record.
And right before that, he's like, we've got a big mix of people. We even have liberals in our group.
Yeah.
And she's like, really, you got liberals? Like, yeah, we got one right over there. And she's like, well, I think a lot of liberals would debate that. And then right after is when she went to the male chauvinist thing. Yeah. That's the biased news that's being pushed out.
Yeah, that is ridiculous.
Mike, ask some regular questions, get the response, and say, that's the news. Make your own opinion of.
Yeah, I was actually surprised, because one of the video clips I've got queued up is from Vice, and they were actually pretty objective in their reporting. Granted, some of the terminology, you can hear where they're saying they're using friendly terminology when referring to Antifa, and they're using kind of like more negative language when they're referring to the Proud Boys and stuff like that. But considering the overall clip, I was like, wow, that's a pretty even-handed coverage for the most part. I was surprised, because usually Vice is way more left-leaning than that. I mean, granted, there's still a slight slant, but it's not like this what we're seeing from CNN, where it's like, yeah, they definitely have an axe to grind with the guy, accusing him of being a male chauvinist, and also saying that they're against, race. That they were making a racist statements and stuff. He's like, what? It's never been about race. All right.
Yeah.
So here's the Joe Biggs one, because he was called out by name from Ted Wheeler for this. So
no one got hurt so far. No one's been injured. We've had a couple stragglers come by and tell people, try to jump in some of these guys' faces, but everyone's maintained their calm. That's kind of what we've went over the last few days with everyone. Don't let them sucker you into, don't be reactionary. Don't get emotional, and try to be better. So that's what we did. We came out here, had a good time. No one got hurt. No one got injured. No one's arrested. Success.
What's the message you got across?
Go look at President Trump's Twitter. He talked about Portland, said he's watching Antifa. That's all we wanted. We wanted national attention on it. We got it. Mission success.
Yeah, that's a fairly short clip, and exactly. That's because the clip that he's talking, or the Trump tweet that he's talking about, that is in the other video that I've got queued up here. So I'll get to that in a second. Which I don't think I linked you that. Hang on, let me just link all of these for you real fast. So these are the order that they're gonna play. One of these videos is the longer one. It's actually the Vice video. I've got. Oh, did I just send that? Basically, so the first section of it that I'm going to show is the one starting at the 43-second mark, and then I've got one queued up for the 4-minute and 37-second. So did I send you the Vice one? If not, here it is again. And this last one, oh, this gets on my nerves so bad. Alright. Okay, so this is the Vice report. Like I said, it's a little more even-handed.
Tell me, what exactly is the message?
The message is to bring awareness to Antifa, the fact that these people are able to put on masks and go out and commit acts of violence and then kind of get away with it. What we want to have is these anti-masking laws installed, because I think that's going to deter a lot of these people from going out and doing those kind of stuff.
Yeah, so there's Trump's tweet, but I also want to talk about the anti-mask laws, which I'm surprised that hasn't been adopted previously. Like, why that isn't commonplace. If you see somebody walking around and they put on a mask, that immediately makes you think, wait, they're doing something sneaky. I mean, granted, there's specific holidays around wearing masks, like Halloween and things like that, where if you see somebody walking around with a mask, and actually it's those nights when a lot of crime sprees occur, because they can get away with that sort of thing without setting off any alarms, or, and you're like, oh, wait a minute, why is that guy walking around with this, with his face all covered up? And
yeah, but those that impede upon freedom of speech.
Yes. So, unfortunately, I am surprised that such laws are not in place right now, but when it comes to advocating for anti-mask laws and things along those lines, I can't get behind that. That is... Because... imagine the shoe was on the other foot, right? And it wasn't Antifa thugs wearing masks in order to try to bully people and fight people and things along those lines, and it was instead a corrupt government that we needed to fight back against. And which, if you think about, Antifa thinks that's the government they live under, but it's not. In a government like that, you wouldn't just get a slap on the wrist and taken to jail for a couple of days and then have the mayor of the town defend you. The type of government where you would need a mask and to go around and actually do political acts of violence, this ain't it. But as soon as you start to see laws where you're like, oh, you can't go and cover up your face, that's when you go, if you get caught by such a regime, that's when you get disappeared. That's when you go to the gulag and you go directly to jail. Do not pass go. Do not collect $200. See, okay, I need to. That ties into the next point, but I need to cover Trump's statement first. Okay, so Trump's.
If there's ever a peaceful protest where a mask would be relevant, right now Antifa uses a mask to cover their face because they are basically cowards.
Yes. Well, they think they're fighting against a big evil government,
but they're not.
Lets them know.
Random people. They're just thugs, and so because they're thugs and they know it, they got to cover up their face so it doesn't get caught on YouTube, and so they don't get put in jail.
Yeah.
So by wearing those masks, that's what they're doing, is just hiding. But if there's ever a valid reason, things do get, like you said, and we want to do a peaceful protest, kind of like that V for Vendetta movie.
Mm-hmm.
They go bad in Seattle where people just band together and whatever the mask is for that movement. I could kind of see that, and that is a right to peaceful protest, and it would be, I think, part of free speech, as long as it's not violent.
Yeah, and if you look at, V for Vendetta is a really good example. It's one of, I'm surprised that came out of the Wachowskis, although I think they only produced it. But, very anti-authoritarian government, and the final scene is exactly that, a peaceful protest. And then the cops stand down, right?
Yeah, because they don't want.
They're like, there's too many of them. We can't fight them all. They stand down.
So in that essence, there should not be a need for anti-mask laws. So, in order to preserve freedom of speech, I don't think a law like that needs to exist. But I do think we already have assault laws, and that's already illegal.
Yep.
And so Portland and Seattle as a whole just needs to crack down. When they see Antifa beating up anybody, or if they see Proud Boys beating up anybody, either side, do your job.
Yeah.
You do not have a constitutional right to assault people at a protest. You have a right to organize peacefully. That's it. You start coming out with pepper spray, baseball bats, clubs, chains, milkshakes, quickcrete, whatever, and assaulting people, that is illegal. You do not have a constitutional right. You belong in jail.
And so the thing is, originally they had the two groups separated. And it's only after the rally was over that the two groups collided in certain areas. That's where the problem occurred. I'm like, well, if you've got
Proud Boys were leaving.
Yeah.
Antifa started antagonizing.
Yeah.
Because they're looking for a fight. That's
I'll get to that in a bit here, but I do want to cover. So, what Trump's tweet was that Joe Biggs was talking about. He said, "Major consideration is being given to the name Antifa, or to naming Antifa an organization of terror. Portland is being watched very closely. Hopefully, the mayor will be able to properly do his job." And it's pretty clear that they have not been properly doing their job, because the Proud Boys should have been able to leave peacefully, because they were able to get there peacefully, without being attacked by Antifa. They should have been separated the entire time, and had they been able to do that, no problems. The event would have happened, and the two protests would have been peaceful for the most part, and you wouldn't have this video footage of people getting attacked and of buses getting stomped in. And
a protest, right? A protest and a counter-protest. They're always on opposite sides of whatever the venue is, a plaza or a street or whatever. Yeah. Because you're not going to go stand right next to somebody saying, "I love Trump," while saying Trump is a racist, right? Mm-hmm. You're going to stand right next to that guy and say, "Hey, nice time. I disagree with everything you're saying." That doesn't happen.
No.
Obviously, there's tension. So you split sides, and they protest there, you protest there. People can see what each side is protesting. It separates people. That way, it keeps that tension out. It keeps physical violence away.
And because when you got hostile tensions like that, you got these two
looking for a scuffle.
Yeah, and even if both sides intend to go there peacefully, and they get together, and all it takes is one person throwing a punch from either side, and then you get this massive huddle of people fighting each other. Like, even if both intended to be perfectly peaceful, because that's supposedly how this all started, and then they got pushed right up together, and all it takes is one catalyst, and that whole thing becomes a brawl. That's like, well, if you separate yourselves and you're like, hey, maybe you have some conversations that come up one at a time to the middle line where you discuss with each other, then you don't have these teams fighting each other. But when you're up next to each other, that's where you've got these, people lost in the crowd type thing.
At least from what I've seen, even on mainstream news, I don't think there has been a single rally or protest that Antifa's gone to without someone getting hurt.
Yeah, and there have been a couple of right-wing ones where nothing happened.
Yeah, this one, like I said, there was a minor scuffle. I don't know if it was instigated by a Proud Boy guy. From my understanding, Antifa started crossing over because they were leaving. They were trying to basically poke at him and say, hey, you gonna fight back?
Okay.
And then they ended up breaking it up and walking away. So Antifa just picked on random people.
Yeah. So I got a side tangent while I'm thinking about it, because I did mention do not pass go. Go to directly. Do not pass go. Do not collect $200. Because Monopoly, they have a socialism version that came out, like, it was announced a couple of days ago. And yes, it, like, at first I was like, oh, wait a minute, this is going to be bad. But it lampoons socialism, because so you pass go, you don't get $200, you get a living wage of $50. And there's community chests where you have to split your money evenly amongst the group. Yeah, so I don't know of all I don't know all the rules and all that sort of thing, but I saw a couple of the things that were highlighted, and I was like, while I was thinking about it, I need to check out the Monopoly Socialism Edition and see what, because apparently there's a lot of tongue-in-cheek stuff there, and there's a lot of. Oh, it was so because I heard Cat Timp talking about this on one of the things, one of the video clips I saw today. And so in there, they mentioned a community chest card that talked about it. Everybody wins school.
Yeah.
All right.
Oh, something for a future topic, since we're kind of on this. I went and bought the Communist Manifesto. It's like a
really
edition. Got through 2 or 3 chapters, so I just kind of read it in my son's soccer practice. But just trying to get their perspective. I don't think people understand what's in there.
If you most socialists have not read it. Most communists have not read it.
Because they are talking about taking over everything and segregating the population in the small pockets. Basically, we're going to be an agrarian culture.
Yeah.
And technology.
Well, that's the other thing, is like, look at when he wrote it.
I mean, it's not.
No, that's the crazy thing is I get into arguments with socialists all the time. Arguments he makes in that book, they're making those arguments today. I'm like, wait a minute, do you not realize you're doing this on Twitter? People have their entire careers based on social media platforms, and yet you're here talking, oh, everybody works in a factory. Who works in a factory? Your Uber driver?
That are known for factories. We've got a couple here. Detroit's got factories. Most of the United States does not operate the factory.
Yeah, it's like what factory worker? You mean the barista at Starbucks? You mean the Uber driver? A PewDiePie? Is he a?
Has gotten most people out of factories.
Yeah, he wrote that at a time before the airplane, let alone before computers and the internet. He wrote that before the automobile.
Yeah. So basically, most of the population is supposed to be farmers, and we're all supposed to be spread out to help even out the population across the land.
Yeah.
Just wacko stuff that would not even work, but it's supposed to balance everything out so we all have the same.
And it's all been rendered useless by technological advancements.
Yeah, none of it's necessary at all. Why have everyone farm when we can have just a couple farmers? We have more food than we know what to do with.
Yeah.
We're exporting food to other countries. World hunger is getting lower and lower and lower because of technology. Why would anyone go back to that? And why don't people read that and say, oh, this is what we're based
well,
off?
Okay, that's the other thing is people don't read that. The majority of people who are socialists have never read the Communist Manifesto. They are going off of what other people are telling them about socialism, which is why they always repeat the same canned lines, the same canned responses. Everything is like, I could go through my entire Twitter timeline and see me making a completely different argument to somebody making the exact same socialist. Like, I must have like 20 different responses, and yet they always have the same exact, like the 5 that they just recycle over and over again. Like a brand new person making the exact same arguments as it, and I'm like, dude, this is ridiculous.
But even in the manifesto, at least what I've read so far, the entire purpose is to end whatever repetitious cycle is. Because they said before the bourgeoisie and the proletariat, there was like the lords and the serfs, something like that. And it's always been, so it's a way to blanket everything to where everybody is the same. But no one's propped up, it drags everyone down. That is the whole purpose. Is to drag the bourgeoisie down to everyone else's level and prevent anyone from succeeding.
Yeah.
That is the plan. It is so stupid.
All right. So going back to the so if you want to make a like plan for like a week or two from now where we go over the Communist Manifesto, like it's been oof. Because I think I read that when I was like, it's been almost a decade since I read that last.
Yeah, I'll probably finish it up this weekend. I think it's 5 chapters.
Yeah, it's a very small. It's not. It's Das Kapital is. Oh, God. That was a trudge, man. Oh, that was the worst textbook I've ever read in my life. It is so. I mean, it's so. Like, I'll watch these video clips of people saying insane nonsense, and I gotta stop like every 5 minutes or so and be like, dude, and just rage and say, no, this is all wrong. You can't complete. Like, reading Das Kapital is like that. It's like every few sentences, like, no, this is all wrong, and this is the foundation of everything you're building off of is this wrong premise. You can't, and then I come back to it. But so it's not only the enraging part, but the parts that aren't enraging are just so mind-numbingly boring. It is I mean, granted, I guess it's supposed to be written like a textbook, but it is so poorly written to not. I mean, I think the purpose of it was to have people just like, whatever, too much. Just I'll accept your argument. Just stop bombarding me with this is too boring. Yeah, I'll accept your word. I think that was kind of the goal behind it. Yeah, and he had I think he had planned 7 volumes of it, but there's only 4. Yeah, and 4 is a chore to get through. I mean, I read through it because like maybe there's something here I'm missing. No, nope. Spoiler alert. No, there isn't. It's there's nothing. No secret information. There's no. Yeah. All right. So going back to the Portland stuff. Here's the other clip of Vice. And this goes more towards the point of what you were talking about. Is like Antifa went there looking for it.
And do you think things went well today?
Considering the police didn't let us have any interaction with the Proud Boys, personally, I'm not too happy about that.
Why would...
So, and this is why I say this seems to be fairly even-handed, because the reporter is, for the most part, just asking questions and asks the Antifa people if they were happy about the day. And the Antifa response was, no, because the police wouldn't let us have any interactions with them. I'm like... okay, that's... Because she wanted to go and fight them.
Yeah, it's just a bunch of pent-up frustration with the primarily white people, a bunch of dumb white college kids, it looks like. I mean, there's a couple of mixed race.
Yeah, well, this particular leader is a person of color. I mean, I'm just going visually. She might be white, but I don't think so.
Yeah, screw that. I'm not using that person of color term. I hate that.
Yeah.
If I'm a white guy, then they could be a black guy, or a Hispanic guy, or an Asian guy, or a girl, whatever.
And so that's okay. That's something we need to talk about on another topic, because that's something. There is no white, like. This is something that has been, I guess, come to my attention pretty recently is the Germans were white, but they didn't think they were white. They thought they were Germans. The Italians weren't white. They were Italian. Like, this is...
The Irish are white. The English are white. The French are white. The Spanish are white.
They're white, but if you go and talk to them, do they consider themselves white? Do they look... No, like, no. Like, you can look at... The Irish hated the English, and they're both white. And the English hated the... And all of these whites hate each other, not by their color of their skin, but by their nationality and ethnicity. And you're like... There is no unifying white.
No. There's no unifying Asian. Think Chinese are like Koreans? No, they're not. North Korea and South Korea don't even like each other.
Yeah, wait a minute. Yeah, so
they're not unifying blacks. There's Black Lives Matter type blacks, and then there's educated blacks that say you can succeed on your own. You don't need this group behind you. You don't need all this handout.
Yeah, I mean,
there's just skin color, and it doesn't do anything at all.
Okay, so I get what you're saying there, but it's like there are people who will identify. I guess I gotta figure out.
Are you saying there's like a black culture, but there's not?
Well, yeah, no. So there are people whose entire identity is being black.
It doesn't mean anything.
It shouldn't mean anything.
No, Michael Jackson was black. Does he sing about the hood?
No.
Do you ever see him dressed? I guess there's that video of him in Egypt.
Yeah, and I was about so. From what I can understand,
around and everybody, the whole black and white video where he's like, it doesn't matter.
Yeah. But so as far as I can tell, the only group of white or people who have white skin who identify themselves solely by the white skin is like the white supremacists and the KKK type people, which is a small subsection. But there are large portions
tiny subsection, like not even a percentage of.
Yeah, but there are large portions of people who are black who black is their entire identity, and if you there are large portions of Hispanics who that's their entire identity, and it's like, but even
that's what they're struggling with is when you come to the United States, your identity is you.
Should be.
What have you done with your life? What have you built up? Where have you succeeded? Not anybody else. Not the guy up the street. Stop comparing yourself to the Joneses. What have you done? Go seek out your happiness, your prosperity. That was the whole point.
Yeah.
They have completely missed the mark of what this country was founded on. And I think because they've grouped themselves in these stupid isolated little pods and said, hey, the United States doesn't fit our pod exactly. It must be against us. But nah.
Yeah.
You think all the Irish and Germans, everyone wanted to cram in here and all of a sudden they're holding hands? Nah. They didn't like each other. It took years for them to finally get out of their communities, start mixing, and stop saying I'm German and start saying this is the United States. I'm part of the U.S. That takes time, but it happened. The same thing just needs to happen with these groups, but we've got so much of this radical activism based on skin color and so many people coming up from south of the border, they're not acclimating to what it means to be part of the U.S. And being part of the U.S. has nothing to do with ethnicity, where you came from, what your race is, or even what your religion is. None of that matters at all. It's about people just living in civil harmony and saying, proceed with life how you see fit and try to succeed how you want to. That's it. I don't know where this stupid skin color garbage came up. Even before the United States, there was black people here. And nobody thought anything about race. There was black slave owners. Nobody thought anything about race. This seems to be more of a modern invention to split countries like Western civilization, like the U.S.
Yeah. Or again, that goes back to Marxist doctrine.
I mean, geez.
Yeah, which
I don't need a whole group of people behind me to help me succeed. I'll do it on my own. I got two hands. I got two. I got my family if I need some support. That's what people are supposed to build themselves off of. Not some community saying, let's shut other people down so we can prop ourselves up. No. But yeah, we can have a longer discussion on that.
All right.
That may fall in. I don't know if you had a topic on that 1619 junk coming out from, was it the New York Times?
1619, what?
Yes.
I haven't
There's a
read.
series of articles that the New York Times is starting to propagate, basically saying that America is built off of slavery and racism, and it dates back to 1619 when the first slave ships came over. That's what the country is founded on. And I saw an interview with, man, what was that guy's name?
Because, you know,
Spike
forget...
Lee and there was a white-haired Anderson Cooper, is that his name?
The CNN guy? Anderson Cooper?
They were in an interview on this, and then Spike Lee was talking about the history of black slavery and...
Yeah, because the United States... So forget 1492 up until 1619. That period of time doesn't matter. That doesn't mean anything. 1619, that's when the United States first actually started.
It didn't start till 1776.
Yeah, as far as the United States, but yeah.
There was no unified anything. There was British colonies, there was French colonies, there was Spanish colonies, there was Native American settlements. Everybody's trading back and forth. Some colonies didn't like other colonies. There was no unity until we fought the Revolutionary War, and they said, yep, screw the UK, screw France, screw Spain. This is our country now, and we're starting something else.
Yeah, so either way, he's starting in the middle for no reason.
The 1619, so what if that's when the first slave ship showed up?
And
slavery here, but less than 100 years from when the United States founded, it was gone.
Yeah.
But yeah, they're going to be releasing a bunch of...
okay, we can...
revisionist history.
It's... Yeah, revisionist history, and that goes into the Marxist tactics and what the KGB plan is. So maybe we'll talk a little more conspiracy stuff about the KGB agenda for the United States. Well, I think maybe you brought that up, where you were talking about that guy, the former KGB agent who had lectures on this in the 80s. He was talking about their exact strategies.
At school or the Frankfurt School or something. They prop themselves up in California.
Yep. Okay. But we'll get to that, later on. But for now, let's get back to the Antifa crowd here.
Would you want to have interactions with the Proud Boys?
Because I want them to spew that fucking hate to my face.
But why?
Because I'm a spew it right back. You want to? Let's go. It's freedom of speech, baby. Let's go. You think you're superior to me because you're a white man or because you're a man because you have a penis? You're not, baby boy. You're not. All right. And you want to fight? Let's fight.
So everything that she just said, sorry, I started the video again, so it went to about the 5-10 minute mark, and she was talking about, you think you're better than me because you're white or because you're a man. None of that has to do with what the Proud Boys stand for. Yes, the Proud Boys is male. It's a male group, but that has nothing to do with their, they are not saying that men are better than women or anything along those lines. It's a group of men similar to like the disloyal, the loyal order of the Waterhood Buffalo. It was actually, so if you hear Gavin McInnes talking about this, it was started as a joke, like a similar to like the straight pride parade, where it was just like, yeah, they made up a bunch of stupid rules, like they have to name something similar to, what is that, Jinx. They have rules like that where I forget what he said. There's some rules within the Proud Boys. When something happens, the other person has to name breakfast cereals, and they have to name so many without repeating any. And the whole time you punch them in the arm until they can name all these breakfast cereals. Like that's the stupid. It's like the pointless college frat is what it started out as. And then I was like, well, nothing in that has anything to do with men are better than women or anything about race. It's like the other guy was.
They've never said anything about. In fact, they don't bring up women at all.
No.
It's guys that hang out and say we love America.
Yeah, and
we're proud of the American
lifestyle. So there's that fraternity silly nonsense stuff that happened. but it's supposed to. One of the things is that Gavin McInnes and the other people were like, yeah, we're teaching boys how to become men, how to be the kind of men that they should be in order to raise their own families and to live a good life. Because one of the rules is, at a certain tier or whatever, you don't masturbate. Because the goal is like, yeah, you don't masturbate. You go out and you get yourself a family. You go out and you get yourself a girlfriend. You stop doing all the stuff that keeps you, keeps you from becoming an adult. So, and
yeah, to bring up a side topic. I was listening to who was it? It might have been Tim Pool talking about Get Woke, Go Broke, and how Gillette sales have dropped like $1 billion. Their net worth is down like $1 billion since their woke advertisements. So now they have said they're going to go back toward more standard advertising. Men's razors for men and women's razors for women, and to the people they're supposed to.
Yeah.
They didn't quite phrase it that way, but he brought up the point of toxic masculinity, and then I started thinking, there's no such thing. No. I don't think they understand what masculinity is. A wife beater is not a masculine thing. No one thinks, man, that's a real man's man.
No.
Look at how he beats his wife. No one has ever thought that in the history.
In fact, it's the opposite of that. Would be a man, like the guy who just knocks the crap out of his wife, of a wife beater. Yeah, that guy's a man. The guy who says, "Wait, did you just hit a lady?" Boom, takes the guy down. Like yeah, you're like, okay, yeah, you just stood up for a woman. You're a good guy. That's
yeah. Well, I was thinking about that. Masculinity should be attributed with being strong, being loyal, and being a protector. Those are kind of the three primary things of what is.
Yeah, that is like that is what chivalry. Right. That's
right.
Chivalry encompasses all of those things.
Are not necessarily masculine or male. There are female abusers. There are those dominatrix ladies. There are men who get into relationships where the women walk all over them.
Yeah. There is the
like garbage and just take them for their money.
Yeah, there's the devouring mother complex. Where
that's just called being a crappy person. That's not toxic masculinity. It has nothing to do with being masculine at all. Guys losing their crap and just running around punching stuff. Women lose their stuff, lose their minds, and run around throwing stuff and going nuts.
Scratching each other's eyes out, scratching dudes.
That's where that term catfight even came from. So it's not a masculine or feminine thing. Those are just people out of control. So there is actually no such thing as toxic masculinity. They have hijacked the term masculine, slapped on bad things that some guys have done, which some women have done, but they ignore that.
Yeah.
And this is included in being masculine, and we need to stop teaching that. Nobody teaches that.
Well,
no one taught them.
Yeah, and so this is something that Milo Yiannopoulos brought up when he was still kind of new on the scene and started looking. Oh yeah, but he's dead on with these statistics. He's talking about the highest percentage of domestic violence cases are amongst lesbians. Wait a minute. I thought domestic violence was a toxic masculinity thing. And there's no guy involved in there.
It's almost 50-50 as far as the domestic violence, female to male or male to female. They're actually really close.
Yeah, and heterosexual couples, and then lesbian couples, like that, the amount of domestic cases there is abnormally high. And then you also see a large number of domestic abuse in trans couples. I think I brought this up in one of my more formal videos. And then
hear those statistics
and then domestic violence amongst homosexual couples is pretty much on par with heterosexual couples. And like, wait a minute, two guys, where's the toxic masculinity coming in? Where's the task? You should see an increase, and yet you don't.
I remember seeing those same statistics. They're on the same level as just regular couples. So something's amiss.
Yeah, so in trans it's slightly higher, although I don't know if that's within the realm of standard deviation, but with amongst lesbians it's way higher. You can't account for that with a standard deviation or anything like that. It's just, and there's no man involved, so where's the masculinity coming in?
Yeah, so, yeah, you were just kind of bringing up the whole masculine stuff.
Yeah.
But that's what I had driving home from work when I was listening to the Tim Pool thing.
Yeah.
I was like, yeah, there is no such thing as toxic masculinity. That's why if you bring that up, you're gonna go broke, because all your normal guys are looking at it like, nobody does that. Nobody encourages their kids to be bullies. At least not a decent parent. Nobody encourages their sons, hey, get in a fight today, son? Awesome. You know, pat on the head. Nobody does that. That's not masculine. Masculine is, I'm bigger, I'm stronger, so I should be able to protect, I should be able to provide, I should be the steadfast pillar that the rest of my family can cling to during tough times or when they need support or protection. That's what being a man is. I don't know where all that top junk came from. I think that's too much Hollywood movies and women seeing the worst things that come out in those movies.
Yeah, it definitely comes from one-sided thinking. The perpetual, I'm the victim and everything makes me a victim and everything that happens bad is, somebody else's fault and it's not our... Like, well, yeah, if you always see men being the problem and you never look at women's problems, well, that's where you get to definitions like toxic masculinity and all that sort of thing. Because there is no equivalent for females, and you're like, wait, so men do things wrong, but women never do? And it leads to stupid things like believe all women. You're like, wait a minute, so women can't lie? Are you kidding me? Alright, but going back to this, so I've had this video queued up for a bit. This is the last video I sent you. 33 seconds, and this is the most enraging thing about the Portland thing. So, that's just...
Everything. The star? Yeah.
So
for you to be a race trader, be part of the neo-colonial machine.
I wish there was somebody there who would just ask that guy some simple questions. Not the officers, the other guy.
It's fun.
So if you couldn't hear the audio, they are calling this officer a race traitor.
Does that mean black guys are not allowed to be police officers?
That's what it sounds like. And it also sounds like, wait a minute, so he's a police officer, and he's there protecting the peace, or keeping the peace and protecting the population.
You would think if they're worried about white cops shooting black people, they would want more black cops.
Yes.
I don't understand that.
I don't either.
If you go much into this intersectionality, wouldn't you want more representation of your group in there to say, hey, that's going to help protect us?
No, but apparently any black officer who joins the police force is also a white supremacist.
I mean, what if the entire Portland police force was black? They would still have a problem with it.
No, they still have a problem with Sheriff Clark and with what's the
It's because it's a problem with authority.
Yeah.
It's a problem with stability.
I was about to say, so there was another riot, I don't remember which one that was that, where, it was like, okay, there was a black attorney general, black governor, black police chief.
Cleveland?
What?
Cleveland?
Yeah, Cleveland. Yeah, like, all the chain of command was all black, and you're like, and it was a mostly black police department, and you're like, even that wasn't, like, oh no, they're still the bad guys.
Commissioner's black, district attorney's black, everybody. And it still didn't fix any of their problems, and they're still complaining about... I don't know.
Yeah, and then you're like, at some point, it's like, well, it doesn't matter who's... At the theory, or at least what this guy is stating by calling that guy a race traitor, is that his race breaks the law and violates people's rights.
Yeah, you shouldn't be wanting to uphold the law. You should be on the side that breaks the law, is what he's implying.
Yeah, and I'm like, that's the most racist thing, because that's why I was like, do you realize what you're saying? Because if he's a race traitor, it makes you sound as if you think his race should be breaking the law and attacking people or stealing people's stuff. Is that what you're implying? Is that what you mean by like I just want
perspective, his view on life? All cops are bad. They're all evil, and they're just there to oppress whatever he does. I don't know. So, it's a very dangerous way of thinking. Because it should be common knowledge. Majority of people aren't bad. They just want to live their life. They want to live it in peace. And there's always going to be bad people. There's always been bad people through history. So even in our administration, our executive branch, the ones who enforce the laws, the ones who enforce the peace, there's going to be bad apples. It's just going to happen. But for the most part, these guys are putting their lives on the line, trying to protect civility, trying to protect society, trying to protect those guys standing right there.
Mm-hmm.
So that way, whatever their fear is, a Proud Boy coming by with mace and, a crowbar, doesn't happen. Not that that would happen, but that's what they're there for. Protect people from getting crowbarred in the head. But I don't understand why put those guys down.
I don't know.
I mean, I equate them up with military. They're putting their lives on the line to serve and protect. Show some respect. Man, bunch of spoiled millennial kids. Ruining everything. Just ruining society. And for some reason, in their messed up heads, they think they're being progressive and changing things for what? What is their end goal? They have none. They have nothing to fight for, so they're constantly out looking for a fight. That's all I can see. Bunch of idiots.
Yeah, and they've been, there's a huge level of indoctrination and propaganda they've bought into, and they won't accept anything that contradicts their viewpoint, which is, that's how you get to that point.
I mean, it's a dangerous point. If you're not sure of something, go pick up some literature and read it, and then you can be sure of it. If I don't understand the Islamic religion, I'm going to go read the Quran. If I don't understand Marxism, and that's why I bought the Communist Manifesto. So I know what I'm talking about, and I can understand their viewpoint. If at some point I'm reading it and I say, hey, some of this does make sense, then that's my decision. But I'm going to read stuff and try and pull out the facts and understand what it is and not just take other people's words for it. I will never do that. I don't understand why anybody would want to be in that situation.
Yeah. Alright. And so that's all I had about Portland, unless you had something else. But, I mean, there's a couple other video clips going around of a bus being attacked and Antifa guys almost getting run over.
Oh, I saw that. Something Antifa did with a hammer.
Yeah.
Smashing the windows and trying to hit people in the head.
And they broke the door of the bus and then sprayed bear spray in there. So there's and a bunch of that stuff going on.
I bring up that other dude's channel, Slightly Offensive. I don't know if you've ever seen his stuff, but he was there. I think he inadvertently got some pepper spray in the face because Antifa was trying to spray some dude. And then there was a couple, like an older couple. A guy had a leather vest on and it said redneck or something on the back. I think he had a flag hat. So this whole crowd of...
Oh, yeah. And that's the guy who got knocked down.
Because his wife said something, and so someone went and pushed or wife or girlfriend or whatever, went and pushed her. So he swung back, and then the whole crowd just jumped him and started kicking him.
Yeah.
Dropped him to the ground, and then so he went and tried to get the police. But they're still hesitant, I think, on going into the crowds like that to break the stuff up. Because it took them eventually he got like 4 or 5 of the guys to come and break it all up and get the guy out of there.
Yeah.
But that was just a guy and I guess wife or girlfriend just walking by and minding their own business.
So I think that was because I saw the clips of the aftermath where he's stumbling around and he's kind of like looks completely dazed.
He's him forever, and him and his woman just kept walking until someone pushed her. It's just why? Why pick on them? What's the point?
I don't
It's
know.
2 people. Move on. But there was a whole crowd. Must have been like 20 people around them. And then at least 8 guys just jumped on him and started kicking and punching him. And then I seen a couple walk away. One dude with a black mask in there, and they were like high-fiving each other afterwards. Like, good job. Why?
Don't know. But, so there was something you mentioned there about, talking about the officers and their no respect for authority, and that's the same thing with military. And if you think about socialists and all those, they're highly against police and highly against military. Now, I have a problem with military intervention and using our military to go and take over people's stuff and go into wars where we're not protecting anything. We're just stirring up trouble and all that. And I also have a problem with police abuse and abuse of power, because that's...
Yeah.
But they are against the very idea of either of those existing. But I wanted to kind of segue that into something that was actually... is really well done, but it also got surprisingly little attention after Trump made this announcement. Because he was at a veteran event, the AmVets, and he said that, so he made the official announcement that former service members who are completely disabled are getting all of their student loan debts forgiven. And it's, I think the total amount, I forget the exact number, but something like $21 million worth of debt for disabled veterans is being eliminated.
Oh, that's a good deal.
Dude, yeah. And I was like, that is something, and nothing in the media. I mean, like, dude, that's, I was like, yes, I like, the Bernie Sanders, we need to get rid of these loan and forgive loan debts. And I'm like, I'm against that, but when it comes to this group, I'm like, okay, yeah, I completely agree with that.
Man, we've already got the GI Bill. We're already paying for a lot of their college. But if these guys get injured in the line of duty, serving our country, and now they can't work to pay that off, they got injured protecting us.
Yep.
I'm 100% for that. That sounds...
Yeah. Well, the other thing is a lot of that debt...
I'll gladly pay some tax.
A lot of the debt that these service members have is from the government to the government. When it comes to these student loans, it's student loans like through Sally Mae and things along those lines. Because, I mean, that's what my current student loan debt is, through the federal program. And I'm like, so the federal government can just say, you know what, never mind, you don't owe us anything. Okay. Like, it's not that, it's, at that point, it's not money owed to a bank or money owed to something, it's money owed to this or that, and it's not coming out of taxpayer dollars. Like, taxpayers already spent the money on the tuition, it's just they don't have to pay it back. That's a super easy thing to do to eliminate this debt. It's just saying, yeah, you don't owe us. Just, yeah, you gave us enough because now you're completely disabled. So,
because of their service and because during their service they've lost part of their livelihood, which makes it much more difficult for them to get a job or pay it back. Any able-bodied person, go get a job.
Yeah.
Pay your debt, pay your dues, do your job.
Yeah, and I want to specify this only applies to the people who are completely disabled. It does not apply to the people who are 80% or 50% or people like me who served and we have student debt, but whatever. I wasn't injured during during some war activity. I wasn't injured during the line of duty. I don't get this. And I'm like, yeah, I don't. So there are things that I could qualify for and I could get some kind of compensation, but from my point of view, it's like, yeah, I don't deserve that. So, but these people who have sacrificed, limb and, the next step, the only thing that they could possibly give more for their country would be their lives. And I was like, yeah, at that point, if you have student loan debt and it's owned by the government, just cross out that line and say, nope, you don't owe us. That's the simplest thing to do.
They're paid in full.
And it's so, and I want to specify, so overall it's like 20-something million. I don't remember the exact number, but it was in the 20 millions. That is nothing on a federal budget.
Yeah.
Like, Like we burn through that much in a day. So but for the federal government, it's nothing. But for the people who have to pay back those loans, that is everything.
Yeah, $50,000 in debt. That's a lot.
Yeah.
And that's just for, basic bachelor's degree.
Yeah, so he signed that into law a couple of days ago. Well, I think it was executive order. I think that's within the realm of executive order. It's not a bill that needed to be signed by anybody else other than him and the Department of Education.
Okay, so there is one thing I did want to discuss with you, kind of related to it, but it was based off another Tim Pool video where he consistently says that he's a liberal. He's he's a milquetoast fence sitter, and that's even in his own words.
Yeah.
But he says he's not going to vote for Trump in 2020 off of principle because he doesn't like a lot of Trump's policies.
He doesn't like the rhetoric, doesn't like his mannerisms.
He's going to go vote for whatever third party because he doesn't see anybody on the Democrat side that he liked either.
No, he could write in for Tulsi or Yang. He seems to like them.
Yeah, but my question is, I understand the principle of things. But the reason I voted for Trump in 2016 wasn't because I was a big Trump supporter. It's because I knew there was either Trump or Hillary. There wasn't going to be anybody else. And I did not want Hillary. So, I understand voting on principle. And if there was a very good third-party incumbent that I thought had a shot, I would put my vote there. But is it a waste to say I'm going to stand on principle and I'm not voting for either because I don't like either? Or is it better to say, is there something I can't agree on with either of the... I mean, let's say nothing on Trump's platform I didn't like. Then I probably just would have not voted because I wouldn't have cared. But in the 2016 election, there were some platforms that Trump was standing on and said, this is what I want to do as president. I was like, all right, I can kind of get behind some of that. I don't know Trump, and from, his Apprentice show and whatever, he seems a bit narcissistic and loudmouth, but I do not want Hillary. So that was the premise of my vote. Now, I think Trump's done quite a bit more than I actually anticipated. I mean, surprisingly, he's doing a decent job in most areas. Some areas, I think he still needs to clean up his act, needs to cut some of the Twitter chatter down. And, but, I mean, that's just personal preference. But that was a question I wanted to ask you. Should you stick with principle and say, since I don't agree with everything that this guy has, I'm going to vote on this person because they're more in line? Or with knowledge of this guy's never getting elected, it's going to be either A or B. Should I vote on one that's more appropriate? Or falls more in line with my platform? Because I think even Ben Shapiro was kind of in that same boat. He didn't vote. I think he voted independent.
Yeah. So, in 2012 for me... Wait, which one was 2012?
It was Obama.
It was Obama and who? Yeah, the one that was Obama and McCain, I did not vote at all.
Yeah,
I think it was the Obama and Kerry one where I voted for Johnson. That was the 2012,
I didn't like either of them either. In fact, after George W. was the last time I voted, his first election, and then after he was president for 4 years, I was like, I really don't care at all. I'm not going to waste my time.
So, the first time I could vote, I voted for George W. Second time, I didn't vote at all. And then I did vote for Johnson. Because at the time, he was making a lot of sense. He hadn't gone the full crazy. He hadn't opened up his own cannabis shop. And then apparently, you never use your own stash. He's been ignoring that rule. Or don't get high on your own supply. That's the rhyme. Yeah, he has been ignoring that rule completely in his last presidential bid. So I did vote for Trump in the primaries, and I voted for Trump in the main election. This time around, I don't know if I can. that's the thing that I've been struggling with recently.
I mean, who would you vote for?
No, I'm to whether I should vote at all. If I would vote, I would vote for Trump. But my question right now is, should I vote at all? That's the question and the dilemma I've been struggling with because I've been attending Bible studies and going to meetings with the Jehovah's Witnesses, and that's one of the things that is a part of their core, one of their core values is just don't get involved in politics at all. Now, for me, that's a huge part of my worldview is politics, because I've been doing this for over, how long have I been doing this on YouTube, and then longer before that studying politics. So politics has been in my purview for the majority of my life, and it's been a huge part of what I do since at least 2012. When I seriously started getting into politics and started getting into libertarian economics and all that sort of things. So it's kind of a dilemma for me, because I'm like, okay, I understand, based on what the Bible says, that every government is going to fall.
Yep.
But I also understand that he says that the leaders of the countries are there by his permission. So he's allowing these people to get into power.
But I also mean, that's the reason I abstained from voting for Bush's second term or during any Obama his administration, because I didn't like any of the candidates, and I was under the impression like, doesn't matter who I vote for. But when it came down to Hillary and Trump, I did not want Hillary at all.
Yeah,
all of her policies, it just goes against everything I believe. So
what I think I've determined is and this is cowardly of me, and this is not adhering to my principles, but I don't know I'm still trying to figure that out. But the way I see it right now is, if Biden gets the nomination or Bernie gets the nomination, then I don't have to bother. If Harris or Warren get the nomination, at that point I might have to consider, because if Bernie gets in charge or Biden gets in charge, granted Bernie's a socialist, I know Bernie's going to lose if he goes against Trump. I know Biden's going to lose if he goes against Trump. If Warren or Harris gets in there, I don't think it's so cut and dry. I think they have a possibility of winning. And not because of their policies or because they're good. I think they're terrible candidates and they are horrible people. But the Democrats don't see it. They see them as Hillary version 2.0, and people who wouldn't vote for Biden because he's an old creepy guy, and people who wouldn't vote for Bernie because he's an old creepy guy, would vote for Warren or Harris simply because vagina. And
it doesn't make any sense.
It doesn't make any sense, but look at Hillary's campaign slogan was "I'm with her." That's all she had going for her.
The woman part, they're intersectional. There's a whole bunch of women that voted because she is a woman. Nobody's voting on a president because they're a man and says we need a man in there. We're trying to vote for who we think is going to help lead this country in the right direction. I don't care if it's a man. I don't care if it's a bird or an airplane.
Yeah, we don't care, but we are one. I am one vote. You're one vote.
Correct. But no. My question was, it sounds like you're only considering voting for Trump if you think they're horrible, but otherwise you're just going to abstain and say, well, let's just see where the chips fall.
Yeah. So, if Harris or Warren got the nomination, I would think it would be like, oh, we can't take any chances. If either of them gets in charge, this is over. If Biden gets in charge, I don't think that's the end. If Sanders somehow wins and squeaks out a victory, I don't think that's the end. If somebody like Harris or Warren gets involved, I don't see how that's not... Everything that we feared about Hillary is going to be that, just faster.
Yeah.
So that's my perspective. As I don't think Bernie is going to be as effective as he seems to think, and I know Biden's going to be in.
Legislation is going to pass through. Well, he wouldn't even have any legislation.
And
Whatever he's proposing, none of that's going to pass through Congress.
But I think Warren and Harris, simply because they have the XX chromosomes, I think that is going to, people will side with them on issues they wouldn't otherwise side with them on. They will get things passed through for no good reason because, oh, she's the first woman president, we got to give her something to put under her name. There are so much ridiculous things that people will do simply because, oh, it's the first woman, let's just do this and do, because that's somewhat how Obama got things done.
Man, yeah. So what we need, probably post-2020, is a charismatic, conservative woman to run for president.
Yeah, and it's sad, but I think that they would use their woman card to pass a lot of things that would not pass under any other politician with this. Like, if it was a man who's making the same claims and all that sort of things, wouldn't happen. Wouldn't get through, wouldn't get the attention, wouldn't get the traction necessary. But I think because there's going to be, because that's what Obama did in a lot of his first term and all that sort of thing, is people like, oh, first black president, we got to look, he's going to get so much done, and then
all that pressure on Obamacare, and they dropped that bomb, and everyone's like, what the?
Yeah.
You just
we got to give something, we got to give them something, we got to get this through, oh yeah, we got to, call our politicians and say that we want this passed, and so much pressure on that, and I think we would see something similar, especially under Harris. Under Warren, you'd get that, but under Harris, it would be the amount of pressure to get something to show for it, to get some huge major upheaval in our government. It's...
Yeah, especially with the intersectionality view that, like, half the country seems to have.
Yeah.
That's a crappy spot to be in. It should just always be policy.
Yeah.
Get the gender out of there, get the race out of there. None of that matters.
Now, see, if Tulsi was somehow magically chosen as the nominee, I think she'd still have that woman card to play, but I don't think she's as radical in what policies she'd try to get through. For the most part, she still wants the college relief, and she still wants the universal health, which, and she does want gun legislation, but...
With the DNC? Or she believes that? I don't know.
Mm-hmm. No, that's her official policy platform, is the college loan forgiveness and the universal health care and gun restrictions.
Harder than that.
Yeah, that's the thing, is I think she could be reasoned with. That's her current platform, but I think somebody could talk to her and be like, yeah, this is dumb, this is... Once she got in there, she'd be like, oh, yeah, we can't do this.
All this stuff.
I think she can be reasoned with, but I don't think Warren or Harris have the backbone. I think they're too much in the pandering position, and the policies that they've stated so far are too extreme, and they would push on them, like, even if it means the destruction of the country, they'd be like, yeah, I gotta get this through, I gotta get something for a re-election. I gotta have something to show for the next time around. That's the other thing, is I think Bernie or Biden is a one-term president because they're not guaranteed a second term just by statistics.
Yeah, they would be a placeholder.
Yeah. If and Biden has been showing it these last, he's losing it on the campaign trail.
Well, he's got that whole fiasco with his own
his son.
No. Oh. The what are they called? His campaign people, where he can't pay them.
Bernie. Sorry, Bernie.
$15 an hour that he keeps advocating for so prominently.
Yep, and then he had to cut their hours because, oh, wait a minute, what's going on here? It's almost like it's almost like there's a supply and demand that occurs here, and when and they have to be in balance.
Yeah, I think the only reason he rose to prominence against Hillary is just because he seems so radical and so...
Yeah, but
fresh.
he's not radical enough compared to everybody else that's running.
Yeah, I mean, they took off running and said, "Hey,
Yeah.
first to the edge and jump off is the winner."
Yeah, because it's sad to see that Biden and Bernie are the more moderate candidates who are actually have a shot of winning. Like the other guys, there were some moderates in the debates, but they were sitting at like 1% and 2% and stuff like that.
If Biden didn't do all his stupid pandering garbage, he almost would be decent because he seems moderate. Like,
yeah, and then
so middle.
Yeah, he's going to be a one-term president that doesn't really do much, and I think Bernie's going to be kind of the same.
That would be an issue for me, but with this latest whole round of pandering and making these weird claims.
He's gonna solve cancer.
Yeah. He's gonna cure cancer in 4 years.
Make me president, I'll cure cancer. I've been holding out on this cancer cure, hoping that I won't give it to you unless you make me president.
So I don't know, but that was just kind of my question.
So, yeah, as far as
should you go for the lesser of evils?
But yeah, so as far as all that goes, because that's my personal preference, and I know that that's not the right way, because I'm still trying to determine in my mind, because right now it's the pragmatic thing. Pragmatically, I don't care if Biden or Bernie gets a nomination, because I think Trump's either going to win, or if they squeak out a victory, they're not going to do irreparable damage, and I think Warren or Harris is going to do irreparable damage. And I think they're going to have at least 2 terms. So my decision or my position right now is more of a practical position, but it's not a principled position. And I'm struggling to figure out what the principled position would be. As far as voting for the lesser of 2 evils, that on principle, you wouldn't vote at all because you're voting not to choose evil. But practically, that doesn't make any sense. That, as far as I'm concerned, so when I voted for Trump, I didn't see it as the lesser of 2 evils. I saw it as a good versus an evil. I saw it as an overall net positive versus a net negative. Easy decision.
Dark horse or an unknown versus someone that should never ever be there.
Well, yeah, so I saw it as a good thing, and based on what he was saying, I was like, yeah, even the stuff that he's talking about, the stuff he proposed for his first 100 days in office, that he came through in a big way, the stuff that people are kind of ignoring, like all the stuff that he had on his first 100-day agenda, that stuff within the realm of the presidency. He said he would do it, he got in there, and that's exactly what he did in the first 100 days, and I'm like, yeah, even if that was the only thing he ever did in his presidency, already better than the previous 2 presidents combined. So, that's the kind of stuff, I was like, yeah, that's, so, I voted purely on that alone, not thinking, and then we've gotten a bunch of other stuff on top of that. Yeah, there's been mistakes and missteps, there's been policies, I'm like, no, don't do that. There's been spending bills that have been passed that shouldn't be passed. But when you look at the overall grade, I still give him somewhere around an A. I think overall it has been 90% good and maybe 10% terrible.
Okay, so you're kind of abstaining unless you see an evil that...
Yeah, so...
They basically go against.
Yeah. So as far as principle, I think Trump is still the good candidate. I don't think there's anything about him that is a net negative. Now, if it was something like the difference between Bernie Sanders and Warren, and I had that vote in that choice, like if those were the only 2 candidates for president, was Bernie versus Warren, man, I don't know if there is a principle or practical way to vote there. Like, granted, I don't think... I think Warren is definitely the worst of the 2, but...
That's when it's almost time to say the U.S. is done.
Yeah, that's when I'm like, well, if the best of the 2 is Bernie, and that's all we could ever hope to get, then, yeah, the U.S. is done. I think that's the situation I'd find myself in.
Yep.
Because, yeah, at least if it's Trump versus Bernie, I'm like, okay, we may suffer a small setback, but at least there's hope for the country. But if it gets to Bernie versus Sanders, I'm like, yeah, all right, time to I'm going to move to Singapore or something like that. Because that's the death toll.
Potential. So for 2020, it's obviously just going to be Trump for the Republican.
I mean, like most likely, although...
I don't see who else would even...
Oh, sorry, it's the Republican? Yeah, it's definitely Trump.
The Republican side.
Nobody's going to get more than 2% versus him.
Yeah. So for 2024, I think the GOP needs to go recruit or find a level-headed, conservative black woman. Let's just... If people are saying they need a woman in there and they're still talking about the race thing, let's find somebody that at least holds standard American values, and let's just hurry up and get this done with, rip the Band-Aid off, and then let's move forward from there. Now, who cares if there's a woman in? Who cares if there's a black president or president? Let's just get this done with as fast as possible so we can move on from this intersectional garbage.
Well, Candace Owens is not going to be old enough in 2024. Let's see.
But I think
I wonder if Tulsi Gabbard could be swayed away from the dark side because, well, she's not black. She would check off the woman box and also a minority status because she's
still a woman of color.
Yeah, woman of color thing. Yeah, she would check. So I think she could be swayed to turn away from the dark side.
And that's what she should do. Switch over to the GOP, start taking a little bit more moderate stance on finance.
Yeah, well, I mean, if she is the type of person that she portrays herself on, the type that follows the facts and figures and is not just all emotionally based, somebody could just present her with the arguments, and if she's a truthful and honest person, she'd see that, yeah, I can't have these policies, okay.
Actually, she could do that, because by the time... So if Trump gets like a term, and she were to run and say, you know why I switched? Because I saw this lunacy with that second president.
Yeah, I mean...
And you guys are off the deep end, and that's not the American spirit. That's not our civilization. That's not what we should be going for. I was forced here.
Yeah.
I want modern policy.
Well, the other thing is, she signed up a lawsuit to sue Google because they wouldn't let her play political ads after the first debate. That was like that was her big...
Right after that first debate.
Yeah.
So she's got plenty of ground to switch over.
Yeah.
Still moderate GOP represent.
Yeah. She could be very left leaning for a Republican.
On off the defense. And that's not what this country needs. I think she could run on that platform if she's smart enough.
Yeah.
But I think that's kind of what needs to happen is we need to get this whole intersectional garbage.
So there's another name that has been kind of thrown around for a bit, and that is Nikki Haley, the female ambassador who was at the UN.
Yeah,
handed them their butts.
I thought she retired.
Yeah,
though.
she retired from the UN, but she could have a pretty successful presidential bid in 2024. As far as other potential female candidates for the Republican side, Condoleezza Rice has been out of politics too long. I think if she came back, no one would care.
Yeah. I mean, it could be a fresh face. I just think with this whole, since half the country is duped with all this intersectional garbage, let's get somebody in there, but somebody who still holds American values.
And one of the things I was thinking, although Mike Pence seems to be a pretty upstanding guy overall...
If the GOP did that, they would not have a stigma of being a bunch of old white guys. They'd be like, look, we don't really care. If she's got good policies, then yeah, we'll be behind her.
I half wonder if Trump, for this next time, should be like, okay, you know what? Because he hasn't announced his running mate, has he? He's just announced himself.
Yeah, I don't know if he's got...
It makes me wonder if he should say, yeah, I respect Mike Pence a lot, I think he's a great guy, but I'm going to go with, and then he chooses a female, vice president.
he could go with Tulsi, so against her, and then she could run for president the next time and say, "I was vice president."
Yeah, he could be like, hey, if the Democrats don't want you, Tulsi, be my vice president.
I think that would be a good move because she'll be in politics. We'll finally have somebody that they can't really bash under Trump. Well, a lot of that nonsense. And then possibly 4 years under Trump, she'll say, okay, I get the budgeting side. We can't just hand all this stuff out for free. She seems to be at least, moderate-minded on a lot of stuff.
Yeah, and half of me wonders if she's only adopted some of those policies because she's like, dude, there's no way I can get elected unless I don't
You're not going to have a voice unless she says it.
I can't even get a foot at the table unless I say free college for everybody.
I mean, yeah, basically they should have done that on the second round of debates. So who's for free college? Who's for handing out health care to all of the illegal immigrants? Just dumb questions like that. I think that's... I don't know. I'm not sure where she does...
Yeah, but she doesn't seem to be... Yeah, so she doesn't seem to be on the let all the illegals in camp. At least from what I've seen in her policies.
Yeah, I didn't believe so either.
I didn't. So I don't know if she was asked that particular question, but I didn't see her raising her hand when he was going to give health care to the illegals.
Well, on that first debate, it was everybody, but I don't know if they asked that on the first day or the second day. I can't remember.
So she was, as far as I can tell, she's not in that camp. And she does.
That's what Trump should do. He should ask her if she wants to run for vice president with. Then we can have a Republican president, Democrat vice president, at least someone who seems semi-moderate on the DNC side, that ticks the box for a woman and a person of color, and then she'll be viable for a term after, and hopefully by then she can be on more of a stable platform instead of having to race in front of everybody with this crazy DNC garbage.
And if you think about it, Trump used to be pretty staunchly a Democrat.
Yeah. He was very.
But I mean, but if you think about it, he was a business Democrat, like a Democrat because it was financially, supportive of him and all that sort of thing.
Yeah.
And he pretty quickly switched over to being a Republican. So if Tulsi were to take kind of a similar boat, it seems like she is a pragmatic Democrat.
Yeah.
So it's like she's only a Democrat because she thinks that's the best way to get her what she wants done. But if she can, it's like, oh, wait a minute, if they're giving me an avenue in the Republican side, I can get a lot of the good things that I want done as far as when it comes to our foreign war and all that sort of thing. Okay, there's some things that I may have to come to a moderate ground when it comes to like the tuition and all that sort of thing and the healthcare, or maybe I can come to a...
would be massive.
Yeah.
That could be their campaign, is something like Heal the Divide.
Yeah.
That could be a very big powerhouse run for 2020. Yeah, that's just wishful thinking. That ain't gonna happen.
No, it's not, but it strategically seems to be a pretty good good policy.
That would help ease a lot of whatever goofy
yeah.
shit going on in this country.
And it would show that one side is like, hey, I'm willing to take somebody who is a Democrat candidate and bring them over and make them, or was a Democrat presidential candidate, and make them a part of my cabinet. Like, that's how much I'm willing to cross the line to try to heal this divide. What have the Democrats done to try to heal this divide? Nothing. They're going to keep preaching racism and Nazis and all this sort of thing. They haven't done anything to try to bridge this and get the country back together.
For 2020 presidential run, because I don't think that's not going to happen, and then build a better support for 2024.
Alright, so we talked about a lot of extra stuff that I had not planned, and it's already almost 3 hours. We're just about at the 3 hour mark. Going over my notes to make sure I didn't miss anything. There was one topic I wanted to talk about, but we'll save that because that's a whole, at least half an hour or more. I gotta remember to remove that from the description because we didn't cover it. but there are two other things that hopefully they should be pretty quick. So let's start with the first one, which is I should have talked about this when I was looking at the talking about the Planned Parenthood thing, but because this would have been a much better segue, because Melissa Milano was recently made news again for having had 2 abortions and kind of bragging about it or being proud. It's like, yeah, it was the decision I had to make at the time. Yeah. So, at what point is she going to stop being relevant and they're going to stop reporting on anything she says because she's a crazy wacko? It's like, there are a lot of people who are seeing her name in headlines and are like, who are you? Why does anybody care what you think? Oh, you had some kind of, a mildly successful television career more than 20 years ago? Or about 20 years? I forget, when did Charmed end?
I don't know. That was in the 90s, right?
90s and maybe early 2000s.
I never watched it. Not my kind of show.
No. Stupid and cheesy and yeah.
Okay, so even if you had the view that abortions is not killing babies, it's a choice, is that still something you should be proud of?
No. And especially in her case, because it was twice in the same year. At the statistical odds of that occurring is astronomical. Like, okay, even with the basics, like even if just a condom, just wearing a condom every time you have sex, statistically, condoms are 98% effective when used. And I think, even by statistics where they talk about, not using a condom, like it's not that, there's a this defect in the condom and all that sort of thing is taken into, even with all of that taken into consideration, you're still at 85% successful at preventing pregnancy with a condom. Even like worst case scenario, like 85% is successful. So anywhere from 85 to 98 is your range of what's that called? Like margin of error. Yeah. 85% to 98 is your margin of error. So you've got 2% that you can't do anything about, and then you've got 85 to 95%, 85 to 98% that is your margin of error for whatever defect is something that's unavoidable. Still, statistically, 2 pregnancies in 1 year with just a simple condom based on those, it's like getting struck by lightning while winning the lottery. It's not likely.
So more than likely, no contraceptive.
Yeah.
And you think after the first oopsie, and you have to go get an abortion, maybe you should at least try the pill or start to use a contraceptive so you don't have another oopsie.
Yeah. Like, I mean, I guess it, like, he's got, like, the super sperm or something like that, or he, and she's, like, super fertile, like, no. that seems very unlikely that they were using any kind of contraception. And it also means that after the first time, they didn't increase the security. Like, they weren't acting in a, like, oh, wait a minute, that was a scare. Whoa, slow down, we can't do this, like, can't have another one of those. It sounded like no precautions were taken in excess of what they were doing the first time.
Yeah.
That's...
Well, even worse, I think she already has 2 or 3 kids now.
Yeah, she's...
What?
She's got a... No, she's... The
potential older brother and sister...
Yeah.
I didn't want them. And that saved my life. But hey, I got you guys.
Yeah.
It's just mental.
Yeah, it's pretty bad.
I don't know. I don't know if she's just making statements like that to stay relevant. Trying to ride the bandwagon. So she's got to release dumb statements like that.
Well, and the other part about her statement was she acts as if she did try everything possible, and she's trying to be, and she's like, oh, but I was a good Catholic. And I'm like, whoa, what good Catholic?
Right.
What good Catholic is having sex with somebody who isn't their husband and is having sex in a situation. Also, what good Catholic is okay with abortion? I thought, is that a thing that I'm not aware of? That good Catholics have lots of sex and abortions? Is that?
It is a thing that happens, but they're supposed to be against it.
Yeah.
Catholics are supposed to be pro-life, but however, even in like, not monasteries, wherever nuns stay, it's not a nunnery.
Nunnery.
Convent?
Yeah.
A convent?
Convent,
yeah.
Nunnery, same thing.
Yeah, there's plenty of stories. I met a lady out here just in St. Louis.
Yeah, but the
financials and their abortion bills were very high.
Yeah, well, the part of that is they're trying to keep that image of not being, that's more of the preserve the image of being holy and
yeah, but it's kind of like that whole dirty secret in Hollywood.
Yeah.
People know. What's the point of having it a secret anymore?
Well, it's because it's not publicly known. That's the thing, is if you ask most people who are Catholic or who are in support of Catholics, whether nuns get abortions, they say, oh, maybe a couple, maybe here or there's probably one who went astray. And I'm like...
That's fairly common.
I was like, no, it's kind of rampant. Like,
yeah, that's like probably more than...
Probably higher than the average, as far as...
Yeah, just regular couples even. I don't know.
Yeah.
But this lady said they had a whole section of funding that was set aside just for that, because they knew it was going to happen. I think it's kind of like that whole fasting thing, right? You decide, yeah, I'm going to fast today. Everything all of a sudden smells better, looks delicious.
Yep.
You really want it. So if you're trying to go celibate, it's just like, it's been 2 weeks. I can't stop.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I mean, if you think that's the same kind of thing that actually created Mardi Gras.
Oh, yeah.
Right?
The concept. Go out.
Is that...
Debauchery. You
Yeah.
can later. Just get it out of your system.
Yeah.
I don't know.
So it's
But but she's not relevant, and that's not something I think anybody should be bragging about, even if you're pro-choice.
Yeah.
That's not exactly a good thing. I think it would be better if you didn't need an abortion in the first place. Maybe you should be bragging about, hey, I properly used contraceptives and didn't need an abortion. That's not even something to brag about, but that's still better than saying, hey, I got two. That's fantastic.
Yeah, she's on a whole nother level of crazy. And speaking of a whole nother level of crazy, are you aware of the Snopes versus Babylon Bee?
Oh, no.
Oh, this is amazing. So, at some point within the past month or so, Snopes started fact-checking the Babylon Bee.
What? Why?
I don't know. I don't know if they didn't realize that it was a intentionally parodied.
In the Onion?
No, apparently they didn't bother with the Onion, but they definitely had a stick up their butt about Babylon Bee, because Babylon Bee is kind of on the conservative side. So they started fact-checking Babylon Bee, and then I don't know if it was whether when they were made aware of it or when they were getting too much grief over the fact that they were fact-checking a parody site, they changed those fact checks. So rather than saying, Pinocchio or what, I forget what I don't use Snopes, but whatever this is false and all that sort of thing, they instead changed it to parody rather than an actual fact check. And they changed the verbiage in their, because I heard about this from Freedom Tunes. So I was aware that Snopes was fact-checking Babylon Bee, because Babylon Bee was talking about it, and I go on Snopes and I'm like, wait a minute, why is this a legitimate fact check? And Snopes has done similar things in the past. They fact-checked Carpe Dunctum's video, because that was one of the things, they fact-checked whether I think it was the Biden video, whether that was edited or not.
Where there's two Biden?
Was it it was something, I don't know if it was that exact video, but it's something that was absurd with that. They've done fact-checking on parody stuff in the past. So, Babylon Bee was their latest victim, and Babylon Bee has been hitting them back and talking about Snopes and all that sort of thing, and so this kind of started this kind of back and forth, and Babylon Bee is clearly winning because they don't take themselves seriously, and Snopes does.
It's a joke.
So Snopes had to go through their Babylon Bee criticisms and change them to parody and change the language in it to be less critical, to be less severe, and be like, oh, this is terrible, yeah, whatever.
It's like,
and then,
what?
Yeah.
What's
then Snopes releases a survey that they took where they asked people questions about whether they thought these articles presented by the Babylon Bee were legitimate or not. And this is also something I found out through Freedom Tunes because I didn't see the actual survey itself. But they changed the way that they changed the headlines to be more generic. Like the Babylon Bee, if you see their headlines, they are soaked in sarcasm. Like no one could possibly think this was true. And I'll get into an example of one in the future in a little bit here. But you're like, yeah, dude, that's obviously parody. But when you look at what Snopes rewrote and passed off as if it was from the Babylon Bee, they rewrote it into some generic thing that sounds like it could be a legitimate news article. Because all it is the headline. It's not the article itself. And if you read the articles from the Babylon Bee, not just so the headline itself is funny enough. And you're like, dude, that's absurd. And then you read the article and you're like, you read all these little inside jokes and all this sort of thing. And then, yeah, there's no way anybody could mistake this for an actual news article. But Snopes in their survey had headlines that were like, so Seamus had a couple of them in Freedom Tunes, and you're like, dude, that does sound like something you would see on Fox or on CNN, and it's talking about them. Yeah, that does seem like that. In fact, in a lot of these cases, those were actual headlines or actual news stories as they were written. So
what they should do on Babylon Bee is release one non-parody article that actually demonstrates all of that and say, go ahead, Snopes, fact check this.
Yeah, but so Snopes came out with their survey and they said, oh, all of these, this is the number of people who mistake Babylon Bee for an actual news source. So, oh man, I just had it pulled up because somebody just left me a comment. Dang it. Yeah. So, Babylon Bee had a post that said, their headline was, concerning survey finds too many people believe Snopes is legitimate fact-checking website. And in the article, they have a survey, and it's like, this many people think Snopes is legitimate, this many people think it's false, this many think Snopes is a rapper who argues for the devil's weed, or who raps about the devil's weed. And they go through, and the author of the article is amazing, because he talks about the way that they conducted their survey was to going to a Walmart and yelling in people's faces, and the people who didn't run away or call security on them, those are the answers they picked for their survey. So I was like, dude, they oh, dude, yeah, so that's again, Snopes loses, Babylon Bee wins.
Why would they bother?
I don't know.
How did they think that was a good idea at all? Man.
No, but they've done that in the past where they've fact-checked obvious jokes, and you're like, what?
I don't believe they're fact-checking anyway.
Well, that's the other thing. That's the other thing is Snopes is often cited by like mainstream media and a bunch of leftists and stuff like that, but it's two or three people. It's a guy and his ex-wife, and I think they might have a third employee, and that's it. That's their entire team. Has never been more than that the entire history of the site's existence. So you're like, okay, so it's a guy, his ex-wife, and then maybe a third employee, and they are these bastions of critical fact-checking, and like they don't have any credentials. They are not like they don't have inside sources or inside connections with. It's just some random people who started a site, and people started people started citing them as if they were credible on anything. And I'm like, but if you look at their own stuff, and I'm like, the stuff that you just fact check, you can clearly find sources that contradict your fact check and prove you. So I'm like, who is fact checking Snopes? Nobody apparently, but it's still cited as like this bastion of Snopes can't ever get anything wrong. And I'm like, but it's not like it's an organization. It's not like it's a professional team of people who go out and find these that have all these inside sources and they're going. It's just random people on the internet. I mean, you'd probably get the same level of fact checking from half of these kids who are streaming on Twitch. It's at what point, like, they have a bad history of fact checking so there's things that have been true that they've clearly said, oh no, this is false, and I'm like, you could, like, all it takes is like a 5-minute Google search to prove that no, that is true. I don't know why you guys mark this thing as false or a lie. There's countless examples of that sort of thing, but then they're also fact-checking jokes, so yeah, I don't get how they retain any sort of credibility with anybody.
Yeah, I don't bother with anything on Snopes.
No, that's
ridiculous.
Yeah.
Fact parody site.
Yeah, so Seamus made a pretty good video breaking down all the stuff. That's where I got most of the information about that. I've been following the back and forth of Snopes and Twitter, or Snopes and Babylon Bee on Twitter, because it seems like every other day they'll have something new to throw back at each other. It's been pretty funny. I think, yeah, that was the last thing I wanted to talk about, so let me know if you got anything else, because I do have one more quick video clip. This will be the something good to end on.
Nope, nothing else.
Alright, let's see if I can do this without giving away, but I think I think the headline of the video gives it away. And I don't think there's any way I can switch over without, oh well. Okay, maybe... Let's see,
Post the link in the Hangouts chat.
Oh. Yeah, do that real fast. And this is probably not something that is... It's probably something that's already mainstream. Everybody knows about anyway, so it's nothing. Alright, whatever. There's the headline. I'll just play the video from here.
Sven's boyfriend. I have big news. I am married now. That's right, I married too. What? No, we didn't have a Minecraft wedding. Come on. We will have one in Minecraft as well, I promise. Okay? I promise.
Alright. So, if you... Yeah. I'm not sure if you're aware who that is. I mean, I think you know who that is. That's PewDiePie and Marcia. They did officially tie the knot. It's really cute. And he so it was announced before that, but he also announced it via a Minecraft video. But everybody knows that this is not true. This is fake news, because if you saw that picture, PewDiePie has legs in the picture. Everybody knows he doesn't actually have legs. So I'm marking this one fake news. No, but I mean, they've been on the internet for forever. He's still king of YouTube. As far as being a one-man operation, and T-Series doesn't count because it's a conglomeration of other people making content, whereas PewDiePie that's him. Still has the most subscribers. He's the #1 gaming channel, and seems like an all-around outstanding guy, and I'm happy that both of them seem like a really good couple. So, little uplifting. Hey, there is some goodness left in the world. Alright, so we weren't able... Oh. Sorry, what was that?
Oh, I was just saying, that's nice.
Mm-hmm. Oh, and as far as the leg thing, that's like an internet meme. I don't know if you've seen any of those, where there's people who have I had a picture of him going grocery shopping, and they photoshopped it so that way it's just a torso pushing the grocery cart.
Just him sitting in that chair.
Yeah. So, that's I guess it's one of the things that streamers don't have, a lower half sort of joke. Alright, so I wasn't able to stream last Tuesday, and Sinister was out sick, so I was like, okay, that kind of worked out, so streamed Friday. But anybody who is watching or anything like that, we'd normally stream Tuesdays around 7 o'clock Eastern Time, and we'll try to get back in the schedule of that starting next Tuesday. But thank you for joining us, and oh man, I didn't have it queued up to stop the stream. I'm so bad at that. Alright, but thanks for joining us, anybody who did, and I will see you next Tuesday.